Hello, my beautiful beings of light, life, joy, exuberance, passion, discovery, transformation. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me at the Little Reader's house. I'm the Little Reader. You're in my house. And today we're going to be doing a really, really interesting, and I have no idea if that's going to be accurate, but I hope so. Really, really interesting reading on a message from your father. Okay, I will say in preparing for this reading, a lot of Star Wars references and dad jokes were coming through. I've been channeling four fathers, and they're not individual people whose names that I have. They're four representations of a collective father energy. So what I've done is I've put them into four separate crews, as one might do. And each one has, of course, its own story, its own energy, its own lesson. And in some of these, I was already crying just channeling the messages. I typed them up on my computer, I printed them out, I ran out of ink just in the last crew, but that's okay because we have enough ink to read it. But it was bringing me to tears. So it's gonna be something. I don't know what that thing is yet. I already labeled it as interesting, but no promises. Moving maybe, entertaining maybe. We'll see what the energies say, but it's a whole lot of big father vibes. I was gonna say something like big daddy vibes, but this is not that kind of reading. We're not reading Pedro Pascal, because I'm sure you've seen all the daddy memes of him. No, this is father vibes. So let me clarify what that means and how it applies to you. When I say father, it doesn't necessarily mean birth father. It doesn't necessarily mean adopted father. And it doesn't even mean necessarily a male identifying person. I'm going to leave this up to your discretion to intuitively determine who this reading is talking about of all the father-like figures in your life, which means whoever that person is who would perhaps traditionally embody a fatherhood role, even if you have two moms or a parent that would typically identify as, or technically fall into the fatherhood role who is not male identifying, you do the determination. You decide if there is a father archetype in your life or if there is a father role in your life that you would like to tap into and feel the energy of that. Even if you've never had them present in your 3D physical life thus far, you're welcome to tap into that person. For example, I can think of instances where someone might be adopted and have lived with their adoptive parents their entire life, but would like to tune into their conceptive, the parent who conceived them, father, origin, individual. I hope that's making some sense. So you choose the archetype and you go with that. Now, I also want to say that this could be a deceased father. So it could be a father who's no longer living among the physical plane. It could be a father who is living in the physical plane. It could be a father who's no contact, or it could be a father who you have the best relationship with ever and just saw 2 hours ago for brunch, and you just love that energy so much you want to tap back into it. So you do the deciding, and once you have decided who that person is that represents the father archetype for you, that is when you will choose your pile. Now, I want to make it incredibly clear that this is taken from the higher self perspective of your father archetype figure, which means we all have a higher self. Some of us tap into it frequently when we do shadow work, when we learn to differentiate our ego and personality from our soul and spirit. Those of us who do this kinds of work, which I suspect many of you are aligned with and in tune with the concept of a higher self, which is the soul and embodiment of the energy of that person without the ego clouding their decisions, their words, their actions, their behaviors. So all of the things we need to survive in the 3D world are stripped away, And what's left is their essence, their love, their wisdom, their insights. So in a reading like this, because we're tapping into these higher selves of these father archetypes, we're not necessarily going to receive harsh criticism of any kind, traumatic. If there's been some kind of traumatic relationship with this father archetype figure, you can expect to not receive more trauma as a result of this message, because these messages are filtered through love and through the higher self of these individuals, which is much more in tune with subtle vibrating energy and the bigger picture of what it means to be alive in this universe. So now I'm just waxing poetic, and as usual, I have no idea if what I'm saying is making sense. So if it is, yes, and if it's not, I'm so sorry. So let's just dive right into it. Starting with our cruise. So let me identify what the colors are here. For our first crew, we have this beautiful, I would say like lavender feather. And I'm going to call you the Lavender Feather crew. For our second crew, we have this silver feather. It's got some shades of blue in there, but I'm going to call you our Silver Feather crew. For our third group, we have this beautiful, undeniably blue feather, and I'm going to call you our Blue Feather crew. And for our fourth crew, we have this undeniably green feather, and I'm going to call you our Green Feather crew. Why feathers? Great question. These are meant to be bookmarks, and they were sitting on a shelf next to the printer, and when I went to print these out, they aggressively fell off the shelf onto the floor right next to where I was standing, like, please, use these feathers. To be quite honest, I don't know what the spiritual significance of feathers are, although I would intuit that it has something to do with flying, bigger picture, fresh starts, perspective, color, beauty. So that's the energy we're in. Please go ahead and pick your crew, and then we're going to get right started and see what these incredible souls have to say. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to the Lavender Feather crew. If you picked this gorgeous lavender feather, then you're in the right place. Now, because I am a chronic skipper of intros, I have created a plan in which I'm going to do a mini intro for every single crew to make sure that we understand what's going on here. So this is going to be a channeled message from a father archetype of your choosing, whoever that may be. It's just someone who represents a father energy in your life. You can know them well or not know them well. And we're channeling their higher self. What we're going to do is start with this letter. Then we're going to find out all about your dad's journey or your father archetype's journey through the 3D life. We need some more insight on that individual. Then we're going to get their specific advice or message for you. Then we're going to look at their favorite thing about you, and then they're going to send you a blessing, and we're going to light a candle and let it burn until it burns all the way down to bring that blessing into your life. So that's where we are. That's what we're doing. Thank you for sticking through that with me. And I'm going to put your beautiful lavender feather over to the side. I like to have it close where I can see. And let's get started with the letter. So, Father number 1. My dearest child, when I think of you, I'm filled with a rush of emotion. My heart swells. My extremities tingle. I come alive. You are the pride of my life, the best part of me. The DNA that lives in me, that lives in you, is the best I had to give. When I watch you, I am reminded of so many things. Why this world is beautiful. Why people are optimists. Why there is hope for our future. I don't know that I'll ever be able to express what I'm trying to say to the degree that I feel it. My love and admiration for you makes me want to jump, sing, laugh, and run a marathon. It brings out my joy. It's like electricity. Please know that I believe you make this world an infinitely better place. Keep your chin up and know that you will get through this. I know that things have been difficult, but I also know what you are made of, and that means you can get through anything. I love you. Your name. Love, Dad. So, what was channeled from these letters is written exactly as it is for the purposes of this reading. If you chose a father archetype character in your life with whom you don't share DNA, then know that that means the part of them that makes up your fiber as human souls is connected. And maybe there's a karmic connection there that is as strong as, or perhaps even stronger than, human DNA. So the first thing I feel with that letter before we even go anywhere is enormous respect, enormous admiration. I get emotional in this part here. Please know that I believe you make this world an infinitely better place. Yeah, it's absolutely moving. So now let's take a look about your father archetype's specific journey and see where they've been, what they've done, what they've experienced, what made them who they are in the 3D. We're using a tarot deck that just came in today. Now, I had already decided on this reading some weeks ago, but I was out of the country, so I wasn't able to film it. And I'd forgotten that I'd ordered this deck. And when this deck came in the mail today, it's called the Doodle Tarot. It just said, use me for the father reading. Use me for the father reading. So we're going to be using the Doodle Tarot in all of our cruise today, because it is just, it's a perfect energetic match. So Spirit, where has this father been in their life? What was their childhood like? What was their adulthood like? What did it teach them? Give us some insights. In addition to this, we're also going to pull from a major arcana 22 tarot. It's called 22 tarot numerology insights that will change your life. Ooh. And we're going to see what the biggest theme of their life here on Earth, either in total or so far, has been. So right now we're just getting to know, if you call him your dad, we're getting to know your dad. If we call him your pops, we're getting to know your pops. If we call them your father, we're getting to know your father. Whatever that, whatever that name is that you call this person, or if you don't call them anything, a mystery. We're getting to unveil that mystery right now. So please share with us the greatest theme of this father's life. And let's look a little deeper, starting at the very beginning. Maybe it was a little bit of a messy beginning based on that shuffle. Starting at the very beginning. What was their childhood like? The middle age, early adulthood, going into middle age, and then current or end of life. All right, let's see what's going on here. So first I want to see overall theme. Ooh, the devil. Very interesting. So traditionally in the major arcana, this is called the devil, but here it's called fun. So the 22 tarot deck chooses to call this energy fun. Enjoy life and success according to own definition of what is fun, and recharges self. And this is considered, it's number 15, self-knowledge and enjoyment. So very interesting. Let's take a look at the lifespan. So starting with the Hierophant in reverse, and the devil again in reverse. So this was childhood, and then early adulthood to middle age. We have the King of Wands in reverse, and we have the Two of Swords in reverse. And then lastly, current or end stage of life. We have the Four of Swords in reverse, and we have the Death card upright. Wow, what an energy. So this individual has traversed, and I say traversed, maybe they were a traveler. First thing I can feel is There may have either been an extreme amount of moving around in their life, or a certain amount of stagnation that maybe made them crave movement, made them crave getting out of where they were. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was some serious trauma in this life related to feeling trapped or feeling under somebody else's control. So in childhood with the Hierophant, the keywords that are on this deck, which I think are perfect, are rebellion, subversiveness, new approaches, and personal belief. Now, the Hierophant is typically our card of tradition. So we see this, I always go to politicians, but that's not truthfully a traditional association. More like religion is the big association here with the Hierophant. So this individual could have had an extremely religious upbringing that they either pushed against, or on the other side of the spectrum, and it's amazing how sometimes we see two extremes that are completely opposite bring about the same pathology or the same circumstance. We see that in psychology all the time, and behavior, but we also can see that in life circumstance. So they also may have had too much religion. Did I say that already? Was that my first option? Yes. Okay. I said too much religion that made them feel controlled. I'm getting this feeling of like fists, too much order, too much feeling under the gun, or maybe oppressed by the very serious nature of religion. Because this is the child part of their life, I feel that, and from what I've seen and experienced, it can be difficult as a tender child to feel what can almost be an oppressive sensation coming from religion. Like there are so many rules, the truths about life have already been pre-established, and if you as a child don't align with those truths, and I'll give you an example from my own childhood being raised evangelically Christian, if you don't align with the idea that anyone who doesn't believe what you believe is going to burn in hell for eternity, it can be rough for a child, although I know that some children can thrive in the order of the church and of religion. But here, I don't necessarily feel that there was thriving, particularly side by side with the Devil card. Now, the other possibility here, which I feel like is for a lot fewer of these individuals, is that there was no religion whatsoever. There was no guidance whatsoever. Everything was very free-flowing. They could have had parents who I almost feel were nomadic, hence maybe the movement, or were hippies, or kind of didn't have any stability in terms of their belief and their worldview, which led to a sort of inner turmoil. Now, I can see that working for some in conjunction with the Devil card, but I can also see the opposite working for some individuals in conjunction with the Devil card. So let's look at the first half that we established as the narrative. If this individual was in fact oppressed in childhood by religion, then it could have been that what they craved more than anything was this freedom, release, restoring control, and detachment. This Devil card is great, by the way. And as you can see, all of these doodles, I don't know why, but they're just perfect. They're absolutely perfect. I love this deck. So here we see with the Devil card, it's the traditional illustration. We have two people shackled and chained. But here in its reverse, we have freedom, release, restoring control, and detachment. So when I see cards in reverse, I don't necessarily assume that it's the energy inverted, meaning the opposite. And for this particular group, I feel that this individual, this father we're talking about, yearned for freedom, yearned for release, yearned to have their own control over their own life. But as we know in childhood, that's very unrealistic. Someone once said that childhood is like bondage because you are at the whim of your caretaker. And I feel like this individual really felt that, felt restricted, felt like maybe they didn't fit into the belief system that was present, felt like a rebel, yearned for freedom, yearned for release. And that's what brought them to this stage. Early adulthood and middle age had them with the King of Wands in reverse and the Two of Swords. Now, the keywords that are listed on our King of Wands here are nasty, impulsive, abusive, and temperamental. I don't know if I would necessarily traditionally interpret this card that way, but I'm feeling like it's working for this moment. The Two of Swords, we also see indecision, overthinking, sometimes seeing the truth and inner turmoil. what I feel here is that the journey of this rough childhood brought about a kind of, what's the word? Here we go. The little reader hunts for a word in the forest of the dictionary. Jaded. That's the word. And then Miley Cyrus comes into my head. I'm sorry that you're jaded. So, I feel rough beginnings here. Because these are also both major arcana cards, and because we see that this major arcana card of the devil, although it's been rebranded as fun for the purposes of this deck, was and potentially is the overall lesson or vibration or essence of this individual's 3D life with us, this go around, I'm seeing that what was constricted here may have struggled to be released here. So, and I want to get some clarifier cards on this just to get even more context. But I feel like this individual went looking for their power. Wands is fire energy. So they went out to achieve, to conquer, but were constantly foiled by this indecision, overthinking, seeing the truth, inner turmoil. And that meant that maybe and we might get into themes of this, where we look at what manhood and masculinity expectations do to father figures. But I'm getting the sense that the expectations to conquer, to produce, to create a life for oneself, which is very typical for the modern father, and even historically the father archetype, may have been a strain, may have been extremely stressful, made this life very difficult. Like, where is the fun? Where is the enjoyment? I feel like this individual had to really look for simple pleasures in life and become connected to simple pleasures in life because things just never really went their way. And we're going to look right now. I don't know that this individual was a nasty, impulsive, abusive, or temperamental person. It's absolutely possible that they were. But I also feel like for some, it's not that they were this nasty, impulsive, abusive, temperamental individual. It's that this is how they found life to be. They found it to be devoid of pleasure. They found it to be difficult. They found every move they made to feel like they were running up against a wall. So let's get a little more clarity, because I feel like this transition from childhood into adulthood is, well, it's a major part of life, right? It is. Those years, let's say 18 to 45, it's a big window. So I want to see a little bit more about what this King of Wands applies to and what this Two of Swords, two things. Okay, and we could have even gone for more. What's the back of the deck is Four of Wands. And here these keywords are canceled party, lack of community, separation, and self-doubt. So this is kind of an overarching umbrella energy for this phase of life. And we're seeing more of that stagnant, frustrated energy. So it's like what happened here, this bondage or this abandonment is another thing that I'm getting. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So there could have been an abandonment here. These feelings led to this, in the early adulthood, middle ages, middle stages of life, led to this kind of frustration. Like, so many questions. What am I doing here? Why am I here? Why does shit suck, to be blunt? Okay, so we have the Six of Pentacles in reverse. And here our keywords are scamming, abusive power, one-sided charity, and brown noser. Very interesting. So maybe this individual kind of felt like they were in control when they were manipulating the image. So they didn't necessarily feel their own innate power. They didn't necessarily feel the gifts or the talents that were inside of them, as some of us are lucky to have that feeling. This individual instead had to fake it, which could involve brown nosing. It could involve, maybe they had a career in sales. Not to say that sales involves brown nosing. It doesn't. It can, but it's not a guarantee. Whatever it was that they got involved with, but I'm getting professional vibes because this is a Pentacles card, and it typically has to do with income, finance, how we make our living in this 3D world. We see that here, instead of generosity, there was a lot of retention. Like, you could say fear-based career moves. Or another alternative, before I even get here, if this person is not the father archetype we're reading right now, it could also be that their boss or their own father was a nasty, impulsive, abusive individual, and that their boss or their father, if they maybe had an apprenticeship with their father or worked in like the family business, for some it could be true that they personally were scammed or someone abused power on them. So let's look at this Two of Swords energy. Okay, so 10 of Wands in reverse. Ooh, and Judgment in reverse. Okay, so with the 10 of Wands in reverse, managing tasks, learning to say no, breakdown, avoiding duty. Oh, that is so interesting to go with the 6 of Pentacles, the way it's been written. And then the Judgment, no self-awareness, doubt, self-loathing, ignore calling. So I'm getting a lot of ego here. Now, I'm not going to give my full ego speech. We'll save that for another time. But I don't believe that ego is to be demonized. I think that ego, which is our expression of the constructed aspects of ourselves, like personality and image, as well as what we require to survive. So the ways we go about meeting our survival needs. These are typically the root motivators for ego. I don't want to demonize ego. I want to say that this individual at this stage in their life was focused on maybe creating an empire or doing what they had to do to survive. And if it required wounding themselves or other people because of what happened in their childhood here, that was okay. The lack of self-awareness. They didn't understand the implications or perhaps the violence. And I don't necessarily mean physical, although it could be. The violence that was sowed as a result of these actions. I mean, here we have a blindfolded individual. In our Judgment card in reverse, we have what would typically be a all-seeing eye with people worshiping it in this cute little doodle. But here the eye is in reverse. So it's like the eye sees them, but they don't see. Our 10 of Wands, this individual is being crushed by these wands. And then in this 6 of Pentacles doodle, also very cute, it's almost like this individual is sucking away the pentacles from these people, and even getting them to give them with a smile on their face. Like, I do get a kind of a scam or maybe like a pyramid scheme vibe from this. So this is the early to middle age portion of this individual's life. So far we can see a childhood full of either control or abandonment. And then in the middle age, a career or a life kind of running around, taking what can be taken, very opportunistic, either working for somebody who was opportunistic and cruel, working under them, or being that opportunistic individual who's just kind of going about life with a blindfold on, not understanding what happens when you don't look where you're going. So then we get into later life or later end of life, or if this individual has not met the end of their life. Interesting though with the Death card here. Current state of being. So I'm going to kind of push these aside a little bit. Whoop, and bring these out for more visibility. And here we see the 4 of Swords. Normally a card of kind of rest. But when the 4 of Swords is in reverse, and here you can see this is based on the original Rider-Waite illustration too. It's like this guy here is falling on the sword. Instead of getting that rest in the later stages of life, we see burnout, we see exhaustion, we see restlessness, we see overstressed. So it looks like this did not pay so well, either literally or figuratively. The life of running around, maybe running a scam or working for multiple jobs that didn't have a ton of substance, or a pyramid scheme, or whatever it was that was going on here, didn't have, I don't think there was a lot of rest in retirement, if that makes sense. Instead, it looks like this individual still needed to work, still needed to make things happen in order to survive, was still overthinking. This Swords energy is so prevalent throughout. This is Major Arcana, but we have, well, it feels like it's prevalent throughout. Why does it feel so prevalent? As I look at this, it's not actually. We got Wands, Pentacles, so we only have one other Swords card, and yet I feel intuitively this strain. Now, this individual, sometimes when we have a lack of self-awareness, we don't tend to think so much, particularly not about our own actions. There's a great insight from a psychologist saying that sometimes too much self-awareness can lead to anxiety because we're so hyper aware of our every move and action. But this individual doesn't have a lot of self-awareness, especially in the early days. So I'm not sure that they were overthinking in that way. I think their overthinking, when they were overthinking, was scheming. Like, what am I going to do next? What am I going to make happen next? What's my next endeavor? What's my next job? What can I get from this person or that person? So I think that's their next, or I'm sorry, that followed them all the way to this current stage of life. And then we have an outlier. In all of this, we have one of the most transformative cards in the deck, and one of my favorites, the Death card. End of a cycle, beginnings, change, and letting go. So I want to get a little bit more clarity on this and see what died. What died? Was it the individual themselves? Was it a belief system, a way of being? Let's find out what it is. And before we go any further, I just want to say, my beautiful Lavender Feather crew, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sticking through this, listening to this story, being part of this. You deserve love above all else, and so does this individual. So I'm glad that you and I are here to hold space for this person. It's really an honor to do that. So Spirit, let's see. What died? What either died or what is dying? This individual at this stage of their life, right here. Just one? Okay. Ooh, we have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, and we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so it looks like something that might have died was this financial cycle that they were stuck in, which was, I don't know if it was a lifetime, but a long time of some kind of career or way of life that did not serve. And now that I'm saying career and way of life, let's broaden and multiply the nuance there by 1,000. This person doesn't necessarily have to have been a career person or a pyramid scheme person. There are other things that come up. Dealing drugs could have been part of it, or some illicit activity that maybe wasn't on the up and up legally. Like, there's such a broad amount of possibilities that can be here. But what I can see for this overall energy in this archetype is that this individual was A, not doing what served them, B, still not finding the freedom and power that they sought in this stage of their life, and C, probably getting into financial issues because of it. Whatever it was not stable. And then here, in this phase of their life toward the end, we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse, which is paying debt, recovery, relief, and positive change. So typically when this card is upright, we see some sadness and some poverty and some difficulty making ends meet. But we have this change of energy. Now, I do see the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, which, the way it's being interpreted for this beautiful little doodle deck, is no control, breaking cycles, bad luck, and disappointment. But I'm not sure that that was the case. I think, yes, it may have felt that way, especially combined with death. And the two of these cards combined almost give me a Tower moment feeling, the way they've appeared like this. Tower moment is kind of when everything falls apart. But it looks like everything kind of fell together in a way. Maybe there was a lawsuit involved. Maybe there was an illness involved. Maybe this individual actually stopped working and broke away from some of these careers. Because we have the Devil card here, represented so much as the theme of their overall life, with an emphasis on fun. And we also see it here in their childhood, the seeds being planted for this trajectory. I feel there may have been other things here too. Possibly some addiction, possibly some struggles with psychological trauma. Now, yeah, we all have those. I mean, I certainly do. But perhaps this was the end of an addictive cycle, or something happened either with their health or their job that broke them away from a lot of old patterns. And it may have felt like a really bad twist of luck. Like, oh no, the lifestyle I've always known has been ripped away from me. But it actually resulted in the end of some struggle, the end of some turmoil. And once again, one of my favorite cards here, Death, is it's a reminder that endings are beginnings. And if you make it through, if you survive this in the 3D, if you survive the death of loved ones, or you survive the death of a dream or a relationship, or even yourself, then you know that you transformed. And then that brings up all kinds of questions about reincarnation, which we can also save that conversation for another time. But if this individual died in the 3D world and then their entire self went on to shine on the other side, transformation could occur potentially in a next life, if you resonate with that. So this is what we see. We see a life that may have been flooded with inauthenticities and may have been flooded with control, abandonment, possibly addiction, opportunistic behavior. And yet there was a turn. There has been a turn. And if this individual is still among the land of the living, then there's more to come. And if this individual is no longer with us, then we know that there was a turn in fate before that ending occurred. So that is a little bit about this Father Archetypes journey. Let us go further and see a specific word of advice or a message for you. So for this part of the reading, we're going to be using the Tarot of the Sidhe, which I just realized I didn't want to read these in reverse, but I just reversed half of them. Whoopsie. So let's not do that. We'll just shuffle them this way. So how you doing, Lavender Feather Crew? What's on your heart? What's in your mind? How are you feeling about this? How is this sitting with you? I'd love to know if it resonates so far, or if once we get to the end of the road, it's going to resonate more or less. One never knows, but I'd like to hear it. So please feel free to comment or if you can add details, flesh out the story, something that I've missed, or just share the context. What does this individual mean for you? So Spirit, what is this father figure's advice for my beautiful Lavender Feather Crew? Please bring it in. Just 3, okay. 3. The Fool. Oh, I love that. Maker King, gift of skill. And Dancer 9, make a wish. Oh my goodness, guys. Guys, gals, and folks. Okay. Gotta take a moment here. Because this is the antithesis, and this is where I'm possibly get emotional, but in a good way. This is the antithesis of the life and experience that this father figure lived. Meaning that although this person felt like they were blocked at every turn, and although they felt like they weren't able to necessarily create the empire, make the life that they wished for whatever reasons. And because we didn't see a single water card or anything having to do with emotion in your father figure's life, this is what they wish for you. So, first and foremost, never stop dreaming. Take advantage of every new opportunity. If something's presented to you, believe in it. Have faith in it. Be courageous. The Fool in the tarot of the she leaps absolutely freely. We are the cliff watching this she, this mystical creature, leap off with an open heart. And this glyph is a portal into the unknown, and it's right over their heart. So your father figure advice here is live with your heart. Live with your heart, even if I never had the opportunity to, or I didn't, or it's something that I never truly made my intentions one with my actions. I didn't get to discover who I was. You live with your heart. You jump. And if you already do this, they are so proud of you for this. To leap courageously and to always look at every opportunity as a new beginning, not about something that can be taken and used for your own ends, but as a new opportunity for a new beginning and a new adventure. It's wholesome. It's absolutely wholesome. Now we look at the Maker King, the gift of skill. So this is the King of Pentacles. This is the character who doesn't use smooth words and snake oil and charm to seduce people or others into getting their way. This is the individual who develops their skills with integrity, who is honest, who is gifted and talented and knows and aligns with what that is within themselves so that they can produce truly valuable things. Here we see a crown that this Maker King character has created. It's not all smoke and mirrors. Your father figure archetype is saying things of value can come from within you if you hone your skills and you align yourself with your integrity and you give. You give. That's something that they wish they did more, was give. So, finally, 9 of Cups, Dancer 9, this deck. Make a wish. What your father figure archetype wishes for you is love. Abundant love. It's a love that if we zoom in even more, you can see 2 she figures here. Tears of joy dripping because this union is so powerful. This father figure archetype wants you to know that I may have spent my life seeking fun and trying to regain control of the things I felt I didn't have and just living, carelessly. Whatever that means, it could mean a million different things because this is a general reading and every story is different. That's how I chose to live my life. But what my advice is for you is to live from your heart and to live courageously and to hone your skills. And I keep hearing integrity and generosity. Integrity and generosity. Those are the things that this individual wishes for you to know. Wow, I just knocked my lighter off the table. So this individual was a smoker? Was or is? Possibly. So, gotta take a cleansing breath here. And you know what, my beautiful Lavender Feather crew? How about you do it with me? Stick one in. Yeah, that's the way. Another deep one. Yeah, excellent. Now we can move on to your father figure archetype's favorite thing about you. And for this, we're using the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. One of the coolest decks. Well, gosh, let me just go off right here. Decks have their own personality. Oh, I knew a dad joke was going to show up. Big decks, little decks, gotta love them all. And they all have their own little personality, and I think those personalities vibe differently depending on the personality of the reader. But for your little reader here, in my little reader house, I'm a big, big fan of Kim Krantz's Wild Unknown Archetype deck. So we're going to ask Spirit, what is this father figure archetype's favorite thing about my beautiful Lavender Feather crew? What is it? What do they watch either from a distance? What does the higher self see? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's 2. It's dual. Oh, wait a second. No, it's 3. And I hear, and I could go on. So that means there's a lot. Oh, the desert. One of my favorites. One that I frequently comes up in my own personal readings and professional readings. The heart. Okay, if you make me cry again, lavender feather, father archetype, I don't know what I'm going to do, but stop. The orphan. Okay. Your father figure archetype is proudest of your resilience. If there's ever been abandonment here, if there's ever been a feeling like you were not seen by this individual, not only is this an acknowledgement of that and a request for your, not even for your forgiveness. It's not about that. Forgiveness is for us, not for others. It's a request. No, it's gratitude that you're seeing this, that you're making this effort to connect, even in spite of potential feelings of abandonment. The way that you've thrived in the desert and the way that you've chosen to live from your heart, even when you were the orphan, even when you were not necessarily being nourished the way that, and I don't like to use the word should because shoulds are very absolute, but the way that you could have been nurtured, the way you could have been nourished, obviously to become the incredible person that you are today, who is so very worthy of love, my beautiful lavender feather crew. Everything happened the way that it happened. But what this father figure archetype is saying is, I love your resilience. I love your heart. I love the way you thrive in the desert, even when you were unseen, even when you were not nourished to the degree that you could have been nourished. You found the nourishment, you absorbed it like an orchid through the air, the nutrients. You're not just resilient, you're kind of invincible in that you thrived in a place where nothing thrives. And for it, you developed this heart that is literally a portal to, oh, so much magic, oh, so many journeys, oh, so much greatness. There's still so many wonderful things in store for you, my beautiful lavender feather crew. You don't even know. You don't even know how much joy and love is still to come for you. And I feel that your father figure archetype is very much insistent on that. And that your integrity and your generosity can be developed beyond what they could ever dream. And perhaps that is one of the many, many, many infinite purposes for the way things have happened. So that is your dad's favorite thing about you. Now, Pops wants to send you a blessing. And we're going to light a candle for that. Whoops. I did not mean to jostle you there. And maybe again if I just did. We're going to light a candle for it once we find out what it is. So we're using the Doreen Virtue Butterfly Oracle cards. These are meant to be for life changes. However, this is the deck that wanted to be used for this portion of, and this is the card that wants to be used. See that beautiful butterfly there? Transformation. It's something. So what's the blessing? Join in. Oh my goodness. I absolutely love. So your father figure archetype, my beautiful lavender feather crew, is sending you the gift of community and is blessing you with the desire to want to be a part of something. If you've lost that desire or you felt alone, confused, frustrated, we saw here, I know things have been difficult, but I also know what you are made of, and that means you can get through anything. If things have been difficult and your father figure archetype is right on the money, it makes a lot of sense that the blessing that they're sending you from wherever they are, their higher self is sending you this ability to join in, which means you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find your community. You're going to find your passion and that thing that lights you up to such a degree that you cannot say no. Instead, all you can do is join in. and say, I'm part of this. I'm passionate about this. And if you already have that thing, you're going to find something new that aligns even more deeply with you than the current thing that you have. You're going to be inspired. If you've been living in a room, isolated, off to yourself, as part of someone else's home or a large complex, I'm getting this image of somebody, potentially you, my beautiful lavender feather crew, in a room alone, feeling just separated and detached, looking at the world like, where is my place? What's my role? Why have I been so freaking left out? Why am I the anomaly? Why am I alone? Why me? Your father figure archetype is saying, because you. Because building the gifts that you need to build to join in. And now you have them, and now you're going to get them thanks to the blessing that we're receiving today. So if you're with me, my beautiful lavender feather crew, if you're with me, let's accept the blessing. And let's say thank you to the higher self of this soul for giving us this. We accept it. We're going to light a candle in honor of it. And I'm going to just bless you with this, my beautiful lavender feather crew, because you are so worthy of love. You are so worthy of community. You are so worthy of having a passion and a purpose and a meaning that lights you up. So that's why we're lighting you up right here. This candle is going to burn until it's got nothing left. And in that time, I'm going to be sending all my love in your direction and praying that this ignites you and that this blessing is received. So I'm going to plop you down. I don't want to run out of room here, so I'm going to plop you down off camera. But you're glowing. So that's your blessing. Take it in. I want to thank you so much for being here. You are so worthy of love above all else, and if you take anything away today, let it be that. If you enjoyed this reading and you found it to resonate or entertain, thank you so much for being part of it. It's an honor to serve. Feel free to like, comment, and even subscribe. The last time I made a video, I had 4 subscribers, and the last time I checked, I have 400. I cannot explain what that means to me. Certainly not with words. But, and here we go. The motion's gonna roll again. No, keep it together. No, don't keep it together. Let it flow. Sorry, you get to listen to my whole channel-addled, multiple archetypes coming through, plus my own self monologue. But yeah, this isn't about me. It's about you. And I'm just grateful to have you on board and part of the family. So whether you subscribe, like, comment, or just keep watching, or whatever you choose, I'm sending you all the love I got. You take good care. Bye. Hello, my beautiful silver feather crew. If you chose this silver feather, and we are going with silver even though there are maybe small hints of blue in there, but we've committed to silver. So if you chose this silver feather, then you're my silver feather crew. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. So settle in, let's talk. I've decided, because I am a chronic intro no watcher, meaning I resonate with a video, I see the cover photo, I'm immediately like, that's my crew. And then I pop straight to it and skip the intro 9.9999 times out of 10. So I've decided to implement an intro for every single crew. You cannot escape this. So let's just accept it and flow with it. If you chose a silver feather, then it means you're here for the father archetype reading. We're channeling the higher self of the father archetype that you've selected. Could be a birth father, could be an adoptive father, could be a non-male identifying individual who plays a father role in your life. Could be someone you've never met, could be someone you just had brunch with an hour ago. Whoever it is, once you choose, that's what we're aligning with here. So that is what your letter from this archetype represents. And remember, this is from their higher self. So it's not likely to contain a lot of survival-based words or things revolving around food, money, resources. It's more of a spiritual connection. So I don't even know what that means, but I hope it made sense to you. A little bit about what we're doing today. We're starting with this letter that I channeled from your father archetype figure. Then we're going to learn about your father archetype figure's journey, meaning their childhood, their middle age, and then their later life or where they are now. We're going to get a specific message or some advice from this individual for you. Then we're going to find out their favorite thing about you. And then your dad / father type archetype figure, father type archetype, is going to send you a blessing. And we're going to receive that blessing and we're going to light a candle. This is the candle over here from my Lavender feather crew. It's burning until it burns out. That's exactly what we're going to do for you too. Why? Chicken fry. No, why? Because ritual is powerful, and it's my honor to conduct a ritual on your behalf. So let's get down to business. I'm going to put your beautiful silver feather over here to the left, where I can see it, feel it, love it, as it so richly deserves. And let's dive in to your letter. Oh, before I read it, I cried writing some of these, and I just cried in the last crew reading. I've kind of been crying throughout this whole thing. So I just want you to know that if crying is something that you are comfortable with, excellent. It is incredibly therapeutic for the body and mind as well. So please, if tears come, the little reader's encouragement is to let them flow. Okay, that's just in case. Maybe none will come. Maybe we'll be good. I mean, not that crying is not good. You get me. Here we go. Hello, your name. Thank you so much for finding me. I feel like my true voice has been lost for a very long time. If I can be honest, I'm not sure that I've ever known exactly who I was or am in this life. But in this moment, I can be clear because a lot of the confusion has fallen away. Our relationship has been strained for what feels like forever. I didn't realize that I was capable of giving the unconditional love that you so deeply deserve and always deserved. And for that, I am so sorry. I'm sorry for both of us. I treated you as a reflection of me, and the feelings I had toward myself leaked out onto you. What I wish I could have poured out was kindness, support, and guidance. Now that I see the bigger picture, all I have for both of us is love. For all the ways that I might have hurt you and left you abandoned and feeling alone, I beg for your forgiveness. On the other side of those actions is the man I hope to be, the one who loves you unconditionally, who praises your courage and your gentleness, and who yearns to be half as wonderful as you are. Please know that that man is deep in my heart, and he will always be with you. Love, your father. Okay, so just as a reminder, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the mini intro here for you, my beautiful silver feather crew, it is possible for this individual to have passed on. We can channel from the other side if there's a message there. And if you're here and they've passed on, then there was a message there. I also want to mention that I do not edit these messages as they come in. So if man does not apply and it's person, then that's absolutely possible as well. So that is the letter for you, my beautiful silver feather crew. I'm going to set this aside and we're going to get started into all about your father figure, father archetypes journey. So let's take a deep breath in. There have been a lot of deep breaths for me, silver feather crew. Let me tell you, I'm getting all the oxygen that I've ever needed or wanted during this reading today. So I'm holding you and I'm sending you all the love because above all, that's what you deserve is pure love. Thank you for being here. Thank you for going through this experience with me. I'm so honored to have you. Let's look at your dad's journey. So we're going to be using the Doodle Tarot. It just came in today. And as I was telling my Lavender feather crew, who preceded you, I had planned this reading weeks ago and had forgotten that I'd ordered this deck. And when it came in today, I had been wondering for the past couple of days, what deck am I going to use for this? What deck? And this deck arrived, and it is, let me tell you, it's like the vibes are perfect for this reading. I can't explain it. It's like it was made for this, or this reading was made for this deck, or something like that. But I'm really, really loving that. So we're going to start out with a couple of cards for this individual's childhood. Then we're going to take a couple of cards to look at their early adulthood, middle age. And then we're going to take a few more cards for their later life up to the current point, whatever that is. So let's not get too hung up on the numbers, the numerical values. When I say childhood, it's going to be what childhood meant to them. When I say early adulthood to middle age, it's going to be what they would define as that. And when I say older age or later life to current, it's going to be that. And if they're deceased and they're no longer among the land of the living, then it is going to be, that last little section is going to be out through the end. Let me say that better. It's going to be from their later life through to their going on to shine on the other side. So, Spirit, please, how is this father archetype's life? Can we start with childhood, a representation of, childhood, please? And then can we look at early adulthood to middle age, please? Okay, interesting that a lot of these pulls are from the bottom of the deck. That's an energy that comes sometimes, preferring to be pulled from the bottom of the deck than the top, for me. And then lastly, later life to current or end of life, please. And then this gets pulled from the top. And then let's look at the bottom of the deck energy. All right. Number 4, the Emperor. Fatherhood, authority, structure, and control. Well, it doesn't get any more literal than that. So thank you, Spirit, for the literalness. I'm going to pop this over to the side. And then what we're going to do is look at an overall theme in this individual's life. This is all major arcana here in this deck. Oop. And what we're going to see is, what was the major theme, the overall presiding theme? You could think of it as the soul's lesson. You could think of it as just something that they continually came back to, or an energy they were continuously in throughout their life and still are. Something that is a constant. Here we go. Death. Number 13, art. Communication of inner workings in a creative way, a statement. This is an action and communication card. Wow. Okay, let's take a look. It's in a book, reading rainbow. Author, maybe? Totally possible. Starting with childhood, we have the 4 of Wands in reverse. We have the 6 of Pentacles in reverse. We have the 2 of Wands in reverse. So this is childhood. Now we take a look at early adulthood through middle age. Okay, we have the Queen of Wands in reverse. We have the World in reverse. And then we look at later life, either till passing or till now. We have the 7 of Wands upright. We have the Queen of Swords upright. And we have the Sun in reverse. Okay. All right, welcome in, Father Figure Archetype. You're here, let's settle. So immediately, I feel like for many of the individuals watching this moment in time, which would be you, my Silver Feather crew, I feel that this father archetype is still with us among the land of the living. In maybe, I'm going to throw out a number and it's totally arbitrary, but I'm still doing it because I'm going to commit. There's something about commitment with my crew here, with this father archetype. I would say like 7 out of 10 times, 70% of the individuals represented by this group at this time are looking for individuals who are still alive. And I'm feeling like the first thing I'm seeing is a nursing home. Potentially for some, palliative care, which is a sort of end-of-life care that occurs when an individual has a terminal illness, But I am getting the feeling of gray hair. I am getting the feeling of groundedness. I am getting the feeling of a life well lived. Now, a life well lived, I don't know if this individual would say a life well lived, but I'm saying it. Now, that's for a large group. That's the overall energy that I'm receiving right now. It doesn't have to be. It could be that this individual is someone who's still in middle, just approaching older age. And it could also be for people who have passed on completely. So as usual, it's a general reading. Take what resonates. You know the drill. But I say this to say, there is a feeling of wisdom here. It's also a feeling of kind of like stuckness. I feel like this father archetype figure at this exact moment in their 3D life, if they're here in the 3D with us, because that's what I'm feeling mostly, is like there's some kind of stuckness going on. So with that being said, if it resonates, great. If not, that's okay. Let's let it go. Let's start with childhood. So what I see for this childhood is that it was, I don't want to say non-remarkable, because that's, remarkable is life, you know? We're living in a miracle. This whole simulation is remarkable. But what I want to say is that it doesn't look like there were necessarily hugely traumatic seeds that were sown in the early on. I feel like this individual may have been pretty resilient, and one of the things that they may have been frustrated by the most in their childhood was boredom. Perhaps a lack of drama. If there was drama, it may not have been such a significant type of drama that it interrupted their, that it caused trauma. Let me just say that again to make sure it made sense. There wasn't so much drama that it caused trauma. Yeah, that does work. Instead, it was maybe, and again, poet vibes. Maybe is this person an artist? Maybe it was just for old souls, this can happen. The experience of childhood can just be freaking frustrating because, as I literally said, every time I talk about childhood, I'm probably destined to bring this up. But as I was just saying to my Lavender Feather crew, childhood, a psychologist once said, please don't let me misquote this, that childhood can be like bondage because you are at the mercy of your caretakers. So when they say you eat, you eat. When they say you sleep, you sleep, or not. When they say that you go to school, you go to school. They choose the school you go to. They choose the area where you live. Oftentimes they choose hobbies. I mean, the caretakers are in control, right? Children have very little control. And that's a feeling I get here, is that one of the biggest frustrating things for this father figure archetype, and I'm getting old soul energy, right? Okay, so if this person isn't a wizened, older individual living in some kind of, and I'm not saying they have to be in a nursing home or any type of home. They could very well be living in their own home or their own apartment or with their own family. So let's not marry that. But old soul, if it's not that, then it's this old soul thing is what I'm feeling here. So here in childhood, and I'm loving the little notes that are written here, so we're going to go right along with this. We have the Four of Wands, which my Doodle Tarot has written as canceled party, lack of community, separation, or self-doubt. We can take a look at this upright because the Doodle is precious. Now, normally, yes, this would be a card of success. It would be a card of community, or as it says here, celebration, marriage, coming home, and belonging. But instead, we have this canceled party. So maybe a little bit of a lonely childhood, lack of community, separation, and self-doubt. Then we have the Six of Pentacles. This is written here, these notes, as scamming, abuse of power, one-sided charity, or brown noser. Now, I feel like it's tough for a child to be a scammer, but then I'm sure someone could argue with me somewhere and they'd probably be right. So I'm not going to say that this kid wasn't like a mastermind lemonade stand maker who was scamming the public because they said they were fresh lemons and they were really from the bottle. That's not what I'm getting here, as amusing as that is. And again, I feel so much like I'm definitely getting an artistic feeling that I'm channeling in from this archetype, because the way I want to speak and illustrate this story is very funny and very different than I. So instead, what I feel like is this individual as a child may have developed the riz, as the kids say, or the charisma to get out of problems, weasel out of things, dodge consequences perhaps, and they may have learned it from a parent or both. Then we have stuck at home, indecision, delayed plans, and fear of change. Now, the first thing that came to me when I heard stuck at home, I heard the tuberculosis era or something. There was a time, I believe, in American history, and throw down the correction in the comments if I'm wrong, because I frequently am. But there was a time, I think, when in maybe the 40s or the 50s, when tuberculosis treatment hadn't been perfected. And I think in America, kids were getting it for a certain time. I know adults certainly were. I think the actress who played Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind may have had tuberculosis. Vivian Leigh. Now I'm really just spiraling into a whole other world, but bring it back. For some reason, I'm getting that this individual may have been sick a lot as a child, which led to this lack of community and separation and self-doubt, and this stuck at home and indecision. And from this, I think big imagination gains happen. This individual, maybe they had access to a television, very likely that they did. And maybe they were watching the programming and they had favorite shows and they were being inspired by what they saw. Maybe not inspired necessarily into action, but intellectually stimulated. I feel like the television may have become, or books may have become, this individual's best friend, because it was and I'm getting only child vibes too. I see 2 figures here, but they're in reverse. I see 3 figures here, but again in reverse. And I feel like these could be parents, and this could be our individual. And then I really feel like this right here is the individual we're talking about. So if they were an only child or didn't feel incredibly close to their siblings, that resonates for me as a reader. So that could be. If they were stuck at home, I think they really got attached to imagining the world. And that comes down to who they became as an adult. So I put the childhood aside for a moment. And I may want some more clarity here. I think I definitely do. But the Queen of Wands, this may have been who they became or who they married. But I feel like it's mostly who they became. When they came out into the world as an individual, as an adult, shy, overbearing, self-conscious, and catty are the keywords that have been written here. Take a look at how this doodle looks. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I'm getting catty so much, even though I'm loving the black cat on the lap of this drawing. Instead, what I see is a sensitive artistic type who came out into the world, and I keep wanting to say that came out. So if that's significant, then it is. But they came out into the world as an adult, ready to explore what was out there. But because of some of the lack of experience and the homebound nature of their childhood, I feel like this may have been difficult. And it may have been difficult internally because I think this individual has or had charisma. The riz, there it is again. And they could turn it on and off when they wanted. But I do feel like this person truly at the heart of it was an introvert or is an introvert at this stage of their life. That was what I'm specifically referring to. And in this time of their life as an introvert has some difficulty making it in the traditional sense, maybe launching the start of their empire, whatever that was. I feel like their ability to tap into their creativity may have been hindered by their shyness. And instead, maybe they took a more traditional route, or maybe they chose a career or a lifestyle that allowed them to dabble in creativity. But I don't know if they truly aligned deeply with their creative side, at least not in the very early adulthood. Let's get some clarity on this though, because I would like to see more. Here we have the world in reverse, and where the world is normally about cycles closing, success, the end of a chapter. There we go again with the books. Here we have this delayed success, incomplete failed attempts, and stagnation. So this is where I'm getting that feeling of maybe they had that creative side to them from all the imagination that was launched here in their early days out of necessity. But then later when they came into adulthood, for whatever reason, it just wasn't, it wasn't all there. Now, on the bottom of the deck, we did have the Emperor. So that could have potentially changed. Let's get a little bit more insight. So Spirit, let's have clarity on what these mean, please. And also a little bit later into adulthood, because we skip right over to later adulthood. But what about a little bit, ooh, okay, a little bit more in the middle, please. Okay. Ah, the Three of Swords in reverse. And the Ten of Cups. Oh, I love this. Okay, so maybe in favor of, or in lieu of, going in a career direction that was the traditional route. Again, we did have the Emperor earlier, which is very much about traditional masculinity and often career success, or building the empire vibes, of course, Emperor. Sometimes I say the archetype names so often I forget what the word actually means, and I guess an emperor would rule over an empire, wouldn't they? But I feel like maybe this individual was a teacher, okay? As a career, maybe they were a teacher, maybe like a middle school teacher. Maybe it was something that they could still reach out and touch their creativity, but they were up to something more. As we see here, with the Death card being part of their overarching energy over the course of their entire life, either till the end or until now, art is significant to them. Communication of inner workings in a creative way, a statement. But something about death to me, and death is one of my favorite cards of the major arcana, is about continual transformation and reinvention. So this individual, I think, although they may have been artistic, what I'm trying to say is that if that wasn't the focus of their life, they still found a way to weave that in through their own inner transformation and self-discovery. If the Three of Swords, I feel like there was some generational trauma that was healed here. And we do see healing from trauma and overcoming depression, forgiveness, and letting go. I think that this individual at this stage of their life, from early through middle adulthood, getting closer to later adulthood, was focusing on creating this Ten of Cups, which was a happy family, reunion, happy endings, marriage. I also feel like because this individual had isolation in the early days, it was important to their journey, to their destiny, that they have community later and have love later. So artistic tendencies aside, this is an individual for whom doing inner work was, and potentially still is, important. It's someone who values accountability. It's someone who values reflection on their own life and their own actions. It's someone who asks why, and it's someone who believes that integrity is a fundamental requirement for moving about in this world in an authentic and meaningful manner. This person also might have been an orator, potentially a pastor, because I feel like I want to get up and give a speech. And a very eloquent one at that. And again, that would not be me. So let's pop this over to the left and look at final energies, if this person has gone on to shine on the other side, or to now energies. So we have the Seven of Wands upright. We have the Queen of Swords upright. And then we have the Sun in reverse. Don't mind me as I do a quick shift. And interestingly, I'm doing a quick shift, and I feel like there's a big shift in energy here too. So yeah, in a reading, it's amazing. Everything is alive. I guess that's true of life too, but in a reading, we just really stop to notice it, and that's so much fun. Also, quick pause, real quick. Silver Feather crew, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. You're so worthy of love. You're wonderful. So, Seven of Wands, battle ready, standing up for yourself, assertive, taking the high ground. I immediately get, particularly from this illustration, which is so cute, as the kids say, I can't even. Look at that. I get this, could have been the initiation of a journey through an illness. It's the first thing that comes to me, which is a diagnosis of some kind, perhaps, but a willingness to fight, or the loss of someone or something, potentially a spouse, but the willingness to get through that. I'm seeing the Queen of Swords. Now, this may have been, if there was a loss of a spouse in this age frame, this father figure archetype may have lost a spouse that was very near and dear to them, irrespective of their gender. They are showing up as the Queen of Swords here, but this is an energy. An honest, protective, witty, intelligent individual. I see potentially a passing that required this person to become a different kind of strong. I see potentially an illness diagnosis that required this person to be become a new type of strong, but something that challenged them and really changed the game. We go from this 10 of Cups idyllic setting to this, I'm here to fight, and that's my right. Which, saying that out loud made me think of political activism as well. So maybe if this person is politically active, the Queen of Swords can also represent intelligent communication, discernment, a lot of communication, to be quite honest. So whatever the catalyst was to this, at this stage of life, which is later life to current, this individual had to step up and bring the fire in order to either grieve through the loss of somebody or embrace their own honest, communicative self. The strength to say something maybe, or stand up for something, or just to simply live, the strength to go on. Then, and here we have the Sun in reverse, which in my world, the way this card, also one of my favorites, Death and the Sun. Love the energies here. Although they're incredibly powerful, I think that's what I like about them so much. The Sun, when it's in reverse, for me, this is like a time of grief. And you do see here the way they've labeled it: negativity, depression, sadness, and false positivity. Interestingly, this individual could have been putting on a brave face, or could be now putting on a brave face. Like, I'm hurting, but you know what, we're going to make the best of this. And I just feel so much compassion when I see the Sun in reverse, because it's an individual who wants to feel this 10 of Cups. I mean, don't we all, right? But they are required to, or they feel like they're required to put on the brave face. Interestingly, I also see that this individual has a rainbow flag in their hand. And I did feel there was something about coming out earlier. Again, it might not be relevant, and if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Thank you, Queen Ace of Tarot, for that one. However, if it is relevant, that could play into this. And that could also potentially play into the diagnosis portion. There are situations in which that could be relevant. Needless to say, in the later stages of life, this individual is going through their death or their transformation by kind of revisiting some of those childhood things again. Maybe being lonely, maybe sitting at home, maybe feeling the loss of a counterpart, or maybe becoming their own counterpart, and maybe not feeling like the sun is shining on them, but still choosing to be a fighter, which is an incredible thing. So, sitting with this energy for a moment, let's transition and take a look at what this father archetype wants you to know, the advice they want to give you. If they're still with us, they're still living, their higher self can still tap into your energy, and it's timeless. That higher self, all of our higher selves can tap into so much wisdom, and sometimes our higher selves are in communication with one another and we don't even know it, with people we don't even know. And then we meet them later and we're like, whoa, I feel like I've known you forever. Why? Well, it's because we had a energetic connection long before we met. So this individual, if they're still among the land of the living, their higher self can still give you this advice. And if they're not, their higher self can still certainly give you this advice. So let's get into it. we are going to use the Tarot of the She for this father archetype specific advice or message for you. So let's see what comes through, Spirit. Whoops, let's try that again. What does this, oh no, what does this father archetype want to say? Let's get these cards to shuffle. There we go. What is this? This dad, this father, this pops want to say to the beautiful silver feather crew? Wow. We'll see if that comes back up. I feel like you just need to relax. Now, maybe communication of vulnerable things is or wasn't a strength of this individual. Because I'm trying to squeeze out some vulnerability in this message, and the cards are like resisting to the max. So I'm just going to loosen up my body and relax the way I would like this individual to. We're going to get that message. Oh, there's one. Okay, what else, Spirit? What else is this? Oh, okay, I feel it, I feel it. This one and this one. Except not in that order, right? There we go. Okay, 3. So let's take a look. Maker Queen, the gift of healing. That's the Queen of Pentacles traditionally. Dancer 5, where loss resides. That is the 5 of Cups, usually, traditionally. 4 of Swords, Dreamer 4. Restoration. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. So what your father figure wants you to know is that they're familiar with this death card. They've had a lot of deaths and transformations in their life. They've played a lot of roles and they've admired people, artists, musicians, actors, directors, poets, pastors, who have played roles and shared wisdom and given insights, and they know about death, literal death too. They've had grief and they've had loss, and they've had it more than most. So what they want you to know is that you have the gift of healing. And right now, if you are in the process of healing something, my beautiful silver feather crew, first of all, I'm sending you all the love because you deserve it above all things. So let me just give you a hug real quick right here. If you are going through a moment of loss where you feel lonely and you feel like, if not all, much is lost, this person wants you to know you have the gift of healing. It is within you. It is within all of us. It was within me, they're saying. It was within me. It is within me. And if they didn't learn it in this life, they're learning it now. You may feel the deepest grief. You may feel all alone in this world sometimes. Here we see this figure with a rose and the petals are dropping off and there goes a ship sailing away. But the sun is coming in through the clouds. And what we see here is with your gift of healing, the gift that's in me, that's in you, no matter how dark and stormy it gets, the sun is going to come out. Oh my gosh. Here it is. The sun's going to come out. They know that or they knew that. And for this individual, the sun is going to come out. And for you, the sun is going to come out. We see the rays shining here, even in the darkest moments. And this individual is standing naked in front of the sun with these rays of light surrounding them on the top of a mountain above the clouds, restored, restoration. This is such a much more empowering image than we typically see in the standard illustrations. This is so powerful. And it's to say that my child, however we know one another, literal or otherwise, you're going to be okay. You are going to be okay. I've conquered things that you will conquer too. They see you, they know you, they validate you, they honor you, and they're promising you in this message, which isn't so much advice as it is a message from a higher place, that as this father figure gives it even more power to convey to you, which is that you're going to be restored. Don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Look, even here, and I just noticed this sun ray is leading to more flowers right here in the corner. So this girl, she's holding this flower, it's losing petals, but here the sun is shining on this whole rose bush full of flowers. So particularly if your heart is broken, or you feel like you don't have a tribe right now, you feel, particularly if you're alone, you feel like your ship has left without you. This individual is saying, yeah, I felt that too. I've been there too. And there were many times like I felt like a failure in my life. But guess what? I can tell you from where I am now and what I know now, even if it's still in the higher self, it hasn't fully gone down to the ego's level yet, you are going to be okay. You are going to be restored. And what a triumphant image this is. My goodness. So, wow. Silver Feather crew, you're going to be okay. So, let's get your father archetype's favorite thing about you. And let's see what their higher self has to say about that. Because sometimes father figures and dads, they can't say it with their mouth or even with the pen. But they say it with a heart, and they say it with the energy. So let's see. Spirit, what is this father archetype's favorite thing about my beautiful silver feather crew? What is it? Ooh, let's put you right back over here. I got too excited there, as I am wont to do. Okay, yeah, those flowed right out. It's so funny. I feel the same thing I felt with my beautiful lavender feather crew, which is, okay, I'm just going to do it. Like, I could go on was something that I heard, and I just heard, but there's more. But wait, there's more. So yeah, this father figure archetype could certainly go on about their favorite things about you. Oh, the nectar, the kiss, the unseen, and the judge. Wow. Wow, silver feather crew. Wow, your energy is powerful. And this individual knows it, sees it, and raises you 20. They love your spirituality and the way you've mixed your spiritual gifts and perhaps your own creativity, which they respect enormously, with your discernment. It's like you have this incredible balance of both artistic side and sensual side and this logical mind. You're brilliant. They find you to be brilliant. The nectar is all about bliss, particularly spiritual bliss. And in yogic philosophy, nectar has a strong affiliation with the bliss of spiritual realization, meaning you open these certain portals in your mind and your physiological body, and this nectar flows out that just fills every moment with this incredible bliss. The kiss is not just about sensuality and not just about romance and not just sexual. In fact, it doesn't have to be anything like sexual at all. The kiss is union, and we see that here with the nectar and the judge. It almost gives me temperance vibes. And if you know in the original illustration of the temperance card in the tarot, Major Arcana, and I wish I could bust one out right now. But what are the odds of me finding temperance in here? I found justice. Okay, the odds are slim. So we're going to use my reenactment instead. These are 2 cups, and this is me like this. Woo! That is something this figure respects so much about you, is the marriage, the kiss, the the magic of uniting two opposing things. And I don't think they want me to say that it's something that they were not able to master to the degree that they would have liked to, but they see it in you, which is they were never able to bring their ambition to side by side with their creative ability or their love of the arts. They were never able to bring their logical, organized side potentially to the degree that they wanted to allow them to lead what could have in their mind been a more balanced life where they achieved more potentially. I feel like this individual doesn't feel like they achieved in the way they could have achieved. Not that they're sorry about their life or what they've done so far, but they see in you all the potential to marry or to unite two opposing sides, a yin and a yang, which is creativity, knowing about the shadows, knowing about the unseen, this intuition, with the judge, who is logical, who is analytical, who is organized, who can see things in a black and white and a gray way. What a gift is that, by the way? So many of us, I'll just throw myself under the bus. That's the bus going by. For me, I'm kind of obsessed with seeing things in shades of gray, all about the nuance. And I've realized that sometimes things are actually black and white. There are others who I know and love who only see things in black and white. And where they miss out is in seeing the nuance. And then there's you, my beautiful silver feather crew, who can see the black and the white and can also see the gray. And what a gift that is. And oh, how this individual loves that about you. They see so much potential in you. I almost said they envy you. Oh, I'm just going to say it. They envy you not because they would take it away from you. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's because they're just so proud that it's in you. And they would be you if they could, which they're saying is the highest praise. So wow. Take that and run with it, my silver feather crew. You are bomb.com and so very worthy of love, if you didn't know it already. I'm reminding you. Okay, so now your father archetype figure is going to send you a blessing. This is one of my favorite parts because I love lighting candles. I don't know what that's about. Your dad's going to send you a blessing if this person is dad. From wherever they are, higher self is sending in a blessing and we're claiming it with a candle lighting. And then we're going to let that baby burn all the way into infinity. Why? Because I like to see you blessed. I like to do powerful rituals that make a statement. If you choose to claim it, we make a statement together, you and I, and this individual. So what are they sending you? Ooh, a new career. Okay, so first thing I'm getting is that this father figure wants you to go creative, to embrace, to not be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to take risks, right? Okay, please tell me I still have it. So here we see that you are the judge. You can see the unseen. You are the kiss and you have the nectar, right? So this individual is saying like, you're powerful creator. You've got something that's very rare. Look, silver feather crew. You've got something that is powerful. And from wherever this person is, they're going to support you in doing this. If you choose a new career, or if one comes to you, they fully support you accepting it and running with it, particularly if it nurtures either your creative side or an analytical side to you that you absolutely thrive in, that it would bring you joy to immerse yourself in. So if you can do that, if you can accept a new career when the opportunity comes, then this blessing is going to flow in so hard and it's going to blow your mind. What you're offered is going to be the perfect fit for you. Because again, this individual, they see in you things that they had wished they'd cultivated more in themselves. And in their mind, this gives you a huge edge. So let's claim it. And if you love your career, first of all, That's amazing. And now I envy you. I'm just kidding. Well, not really. If you love your career already, then this is either going to be better or it's going to be an advancement in where you are currently. But for most, if not all, I'm hearing that this is you moving boldly in the direction of your unique skills, your unique mind, because your mind works differently. This individual knows that, and they want it to be honored, and they want it to bring you a lot of prosperity and abundance. Because why? Because you deserve, well, love above all things, but you also deserve good things. Yeah, you do. So let's bust out the candle. This is for my silver feather crew. We are bringing in the blessing of this new career. Ooh. We accept this new career and claim it and say to this archetype, to this figure, thank you so much for this. Thank you for sending in the blessing. We receive it now in all the ways that it may manifest and commit to courageously claiming it when it comes. So, my beautiful silver feather crew, here we are at the end of this reading. I want to thank you so much for being here. If it's been as much of an adventure for you as it has for me, then that means we've just had an incredible experience together, and that means the world. Please, if it moves you, feel free to comment how it did. If it resonates, or if you want to add the context of your own story, I love to read this stuff. I read the comments and I like get choked up. I send little prayers. I just marvel at the magnificence of this shared experience that we're having. So if you want to be part of that, please feel free to comment, like. If you want to see more readings and more stories like this, then by all means, subscribe. You are always welcome at the Little Reader's House. 25/8, any day of the week. You are welcome here to receive all the love that you so richly deserve. So I'm sending you off with this blessing. I'm going to put your candle off to the side because I don't want to run out of room for our next crew. But I'm sending you all the love I've got. Be well and take the best care. Bye. Hello, my beautiful blue feather crew. Welcome to your reading. If you chose this beautiful blue feather, then you're in the right place. Now, I've said it a couple of times today, 2 exactly, because I've just been hanging out with 2 other amazing crews. But because I chronically skip every intro that's ever been made, even by my favoritist readers, shout out Kino Tarot and Aso Tarot, I skip the intro. I don't know why. Probably because I'm overly eager. So if you're like me and you've done the same, guess what? I have shoved an intro in right here. There is no escape. So get cozy as I explain what's going to go down. We are going to read the messages and energies from a father archetype of your choosing, which means they don't literally need to be your father DNA-wise. They could be a father figure, or they could be the father that's related to you, or they could be an individual who doesn't identify as a male or does identify as a male, who has played a father-type role in your life. So you choose what it means, and then this is going to represent, and if your crew changes once you've made that decision, that's perfectly okay too. You might be like, oh, I was thinking it was somebody else. Well, now I want another feather. That's okay too. But if you're like, nope, I know who it is, I knew who it was, it's the person that I'm still aligned with, that I picked when I clicked into this shortcut to this blue feather crew, then you're in the right place. Now, this individual could be still among the land of the living, or they could be on the other side. This is a timeless reading that taps into the energy of this individual and their higher self, which is timeless. The messages that come through this individual could be radically different than what they might say to you face to face, because face to face, it's oftentimes our 3D self, which is all wrapped up in our ego, which is concerned with the material and with survival and with constructs. I don't know why I added that emphasis like that. Constructs. It's a little different than what your higher self would say. Higher self is cloaked in love. It's got a different vantage point, a different perspective. So that is who we're going to be hearing from today, the higher self of this individual that you've selected. Here's how it's going to go down. First, we're going to read the letter. The letter was channeled by me. The letters made me cry when I was transcribing them. Then they made me cry while I was reading them. If you're uncomfortable with crying, just a heads up, I'm not. I'm a crier. I love to cry. So you might get to enjoy that. Or not. Maybe this is going to be totally lighthearted and humorous and we don't shed a single tear. If you feel the urge to cry, by the way, please do. After the letter, we're going to go into your dad's journey, if this is your dad or father archetype figure. We're going to look at their childhood, their middle-aged, and then their current and or end of life energies, if that's applying. We'll look at a specific message from this person to you. Then we'll look at this person's favorite things about you. Then they're going to send a blessing to you, which we're going to manifest with a candle lighting ritual. Whee! And then you're home free, off to do what it is you love to do, which is just exist and be your amazing self. So my beautiful blue feather crew, thank you so much for being here. Right off the bat, you deserve all the love, so I'm sending it to you. And I'm going to gently place you over to the side where I can see you, touch you, smile at you, and send love to you for the rest of this reading. So, letter number 3. Let's get into it. Let me take a sip of tea first. I must steel myself. Not steal as in like burglarize myself, but steal as in S-T-E-L. S-T-E-E-L, like man of steel. Like Superman. I remember this one. Okay. My sweet little child. Okay, maybe not so little anymore, but you'll always be little to me. I sure do love giving you a hug. If I could give you one now, I would. And as I step back from our embrace, I would smile at you and tell you that I'm so proud of you. Pride feels like such a typical thing to say from a father, but proud I am. When I watch you finding the balance in your life, boldly expressing your creativity, and building on the garden that began with me, I say, yeah, that's my kid. You've got this thing together, kid. You're strong. You're brave. What can I say? You get it from me. Wink. I can't wait to see what you do next. I have every confidence in you. Keep growing. Keep building. Life is so much sweeter when we create something that we're proud of. Love, Dad. All right. Vibes from this one, my blue feather crew. When I was writing this, I was laughing out loud. When I channel these messages and I'm typing them on my computer because it's often coming quick and I can't do the handwriting fast enough, I think to myself, should I correct this? Or should I leave this out? Or should I change something here? And even the wink, like nobody else got a wink like that, that little asterisk, wink, asterisk, like to indicate that that's an action that's happening. This individual's energy was like, oh, you leave that in there. You leave that in there. This individual is charismatic, charming, funny. I don't get the sense that they're a worrier. I feel like they kind of live from the heart or from the humor. Now, we're going to find out if that's true in the cards, but the impression and the energy that I get right off the bat is buoyant and lighthearted and excited. And the wink says it all. Really, if they could be an archetype, it would probably be a wink. So let's set this off to the side. I'll have another sip of tea. Because by about hour 3, the tea starts to hit just the right temperature, which is great. So we're going to start with this Doodle Tarot. I was telling my other crews I had no idea what tarot deck I was going to use for this reading, and I decided to do this reading 2 weeks ago before I left to Vietnam for my day job. And there in Vietnam, I was unable to film a video, but I was thinking, I'm going to do this reading of the fathers. Like, that's what wants to come true. It wants to come true, but it also wants to come through. But I have no idea what deck I'm going to use. And some time prior to that, significantly, maybe 3 weeks, I had ordered this Doodle Tarot, and it came in this morning. And today was already the pre-decided filming date of this reading. So when I got it in my hands, it was like screaming out, this is the deck. This is the deck that wants to be used for this reading. So we've got the Doodle Tarot in every single one of our crews, and I'm absolutely in love with it. The energy is amazing and it fits so well with the vibe of fathers. I don't know how to better describe that, so we're just going to leave it right there. So let's find out about your dad or this father archetype's journey, starting with their childhood. What was their childhood like, Spirit? Tell me about their childhood. Do we want to go for it? Yeah. And then I want to know, what was their early adulthood to middle age like? And we define that as however they would define it. So however this individual would identify early adulthood, we kind of have a rough idea. Maybe it starts around 18, but it really depends on the generation that they're from. Everyone seems to identify age milestones in their life a little bit differently. So I'll leave that to your discretion and intuition, but I'm just going to say early adulthood to middle age. Oh. And then finally, late adulthood to either passing or to current. Their cards come up easily. I like that. And let's peep bottom of the deck energy. 9 of Cups, wealth, luck, pride, accomplishment. Love that. Now, a little extra something we're doing. We're going to look at the overall vibe of their life. So this is like the theme of their life. This is the lesson that they came here to, and this one's coming right up. The lesson that they came here to learn, the energy that they always returned to, every decision and perhaps every tower moment or every crisis always kind of took them back to this lesson or this energy or this theme. It was like, you could think of it as maybe their karmic assignment. That's going to be right here in this card. So we've got way more cards here than we have for anybody else. And that's funny. I thought this was going to be shorter because of the letter was the shortest of everybody's. But I'm realizing that this person, their energy is very succinct. I don't know that they necessarily wax poetic. I feel like they're kind of to the point. Yes, charming and friendly, but not one to really languish. So let's start with childhood. We've got the 8 of Pentacles in reverse. We've got the 8 of Cups upright. And we've got the 10 of Pentacles upright. Okay. Now let's go to their early adulthood through middle age. We've got the Lovers in reverse. We've got the 2 of Wands in reverse. Interesting. We've got the Page of Cups in reverse. And we've got the 4 of Cups in reverse. This is already such a wildly different energy than my Lavender and my Silver Feather Cruise. Why? Because we've got cups all over the place. Did you know that not one cups card came up in either of the last 2 readings? Fun fact. We've got the Sun upright. Okay. We've got the Ace of Cups upright. Sorry, I forgot to mention. This is for later life, through either passing on to shine on the other side, or if this person is still among the land of the living, till now. And we've got the 2 of Swords in reverse. And then we flip this bad boy and we discover that their overall energy, first of all, it's the number 12. Action and awareness are the 2 presiding energies. Now, in the Hanged Man, there isn't a whole lot of action going on, but that's kind of the point. It's like learning to sit with, live with, thrive in action. And here, this individual who wrote the 22 Tarot Major Arcana deck calls it completion. Balance of yin and yang within, lead to excitement, creativity, and the energy to complete projects with aware action, success. Wow, powerful. So I'm going to hit another cup of tea because YOLO. I mean, not a whole cup, a sip. I will say it's matcha with Manuka honey. If that's something you're interested in imbibing, it does me right. And let's gaze upon this story. Count the cup cards. Cups, cups, cups. Cups. Wow, so different. Okay, so let's start with childhood. In childhood, we have, starting out with the 8 of Pentacles. Now, interestingly, kids, man, sometimes, okay, I've given this speech for every crew so far, and yep, we're gonna go again. And maybe I'll make it even better this time. Someone once said, it was a psychologist, their name escapes me. There are many of them out there. But this one in particular said that childhood can feel like a trap. It can feel like, it can feel like a prison. And the reason why is because the caregivers, or the caretakers rather, caregivers or caretakers? Caregivers. The parents or the guardians, the foster parents, the grandparents, the aunts and uncles, whoever it is who's in charge of rearing the child or cultivating the child, has all the control. Children typically don't have any control in their childhood unless their parents or caregivers. I don't know if it's take or give, and it's weird that those two are synonymous, honestly. Have all the control. And we've seen that in every crew so far. At least I have. It's like very often there's this feeling of either being trapped or not achieving significantly, not being able to pursue one's own calling. Now here in childhood, we see 8 of Pentacles right away. Now, this is not something I typically associate with childhood, but it's giving vibes of apprenticeship, which is when a child might have an adult in a profession that they learn from. So maybe this father figure as a child was working for like their dad or working for the family business or something having to do with work, or it could be academic. I don't get academic intuitively, but it's possible that for some, they could have been pushed to be academically rigorously focused. Now, the thing is here, because we have this in reverse, we have a lack of focus, a boring job, overworked, and a perfectionist. I don't know that this individual was particularly academically inclined. And I say that because of all the emotions that we have all over the spread. This individual, I'm not getting intellectual vibes, not to say they weren't highly intelligent, that's a whole other thing, but to say that they may not necessarily have been innately gratified by doing schoolwork. Let me say that better. Or simpler. They may not have gotten pleasure and fulfillment out of the typical schoolwork or out of whatever job or apprenticeship or role that they were assigned by their caretakers / givers. I also want to say that here, if it wasn't work, maybe they were not just going to school, but they were also going to work, or maybe they were doing something else. Maybe they had to work in order to help support the home. Either way, we see that this led to a lack of emotional fulfillment. And here we have the 8 of Cups upright. It's the old leaving behind. And it's so interesting how these little guys are illustrated. Look at all the faces on these cups. We've got like a dead face, a surprised face, an angry face, a crying face. That's also definitely a dead face. I'm loving this. We've got, is this the moon? Yeah, this is the moon with a face on the shadow of the moon, and it's a crescent moon. And this individual's like, goodbye, nah, like they have a hand thrown up, like, talk to the hand, I'm done here. Abandonment, disappointment, finding new paths, failed attempts. So I feel like whatever it was that they were being pushed toward, I'm also getting that their parents may have tried to push them in an athletic direction. There's absolutely no evidence of that on the cards, but it's just coming through channeled. So for some of them, their parents were pushing them either in an athletic direction, potentially in, here's what I feel, is this individual might have thrived if it was artistic. Like if they were playing the violin or if it had something to do with music. But for whatever reason, they weren't pushed in that direction. And if they did explore it briefly, they ended up walking away from it. But eventually, this person in childhood found fulfillment. It could be academic fulfillment. It could be that they found the thing for their talent that made them successful. Like they aligned with the hobby or the after-school endeavor or the work or whatever it was that they were doing. They aligned with it ultimately. And then there's all this satisfaction. Maybe they helped earn money for the family. Maybe they were a Hollywood child star. Maybe they got a scholarship. Maybe they finally, one of those things happened where a subject finally hit in school that they cared about. I know when I got to high school, I was like, oh, actually I do like school, because there's, at least for me, there was a lot more diversity in the topics that were covered later on in my early academia than there were early on. Here we have inheritance, wealth, fortune, and family tradition. But for a kid, I'm going to say it's probably a small minority of my beautiful blue feather crew whose father figures were making bank for the fam at this early age. Totally possible, but I feel like this may have been just them finding their own footing in this world and their own skill, whatever that was, in childhood, which is great. This is like the most positive childhood that we've seen so far. Then we hit early adulthood to middle age, where every card is reversed. Now, for the record, that's not always a bad thing. We don't look at reversals and panic. We look at reversals and we go, ooh. So let's start with this one. The Lovers, number 6. Typically a card of unity and harmony. What is it? What do they normally put here? Oh, romance, partnership, duality, and union. Yeah. So when I see the Lovers, I always see a soulmate connection either between two individuals or between two harmonious qualities. So the yin to the yang, or peanut butter to jelly. Some of you are gonna hate this one. Pineapple to pizza. Just kidding. I'm not saying that pineapple and pizza are like a perfect match, but whatever, it's two harmonious things coming together. And here we have that in reverse, which means there was like some kind of imbalance. I do feel like this individual is a lover. Like all the Cups cards give me this passionate, fantastical, emotion-driven, creative type, even if they weren't creative, like writing poetry and getting it published, or directing films. I think they have an appreciation and a love for creativity, but mostly it's the richness of emotions. They feel emotions, they have intuition, and for whatever reason in early adulthood, through middle adulthood, that was kind of foibled. A loss of balance, a one-sidedness, a disharmony, and infidelity. Maybe they had an early marriage really early on that didn't work out, and there was either a divorce or infidelity or something that caused it to break up. Or maybe they just couldn't seem to find the right match. Like here in childhood, we see they struggled a little bit with finding the right thing, but then they succeeded. Here we see that they're struggling. They're struggling quite a lot. This is a major arcana card. So we have the Two of Wands following, stuck at home, indecision, delayed plans, and fear of change. So in this instance, if there was perhaps some kind of breakup, because I feel like this individual is walking away from, even though they're in reverse, they're walking away from this situation. So if they walked away, now maybe the infidelity or the disharmony was on their side and they walked away, or maybe it was on their partner's side and they walked away. Maybe it was mutual, or potentially this has nothing to do with marriage, literally. It could instead have been an early career choice that they made. Like, look, I've got a skill. I'm going to like quickly jump into that as a young adult. And then it doesn't work out. So eventually I see them walking away, even though it says stuck at home. I think this is more of like a mental stuckness or an indecision, a mental indecision. Like I'm leaving something behind, but I don't know what my next thing is. I don't know what my next part of my journey is. Then we have the Page of Cups, which is interesting. The crush card of the tarot. And again, I get love or emotional vibes here. So this could potentially speak to trying to reignite, especially since it's right under this Lover's card. If they're still married or if they're still with this person, they may have tried to reignite this. Maybe there was a fair amount of stalking that went on because it's in reverse, obsession, immaturity, vanity, and bad news. Like maybe they're trying to get the love back. Now, for some, it could be very literally a marriage or a relationship. For others, it could be trying to get back to this thing that maybe they were good at in childhood, this career idea that they had or this dream that they had to move forward, in some trajectory that they believed was going to work. But we see that as kind of, again, it's blocked. And once again, we have this individual who looks like they're walking away. Yes, they're upside down, but it looks like they're moving away from something. They're headed in the same direction as this Two of Wands. They're looking off to this side. They're not forward facing. The body language doesn't give me forward facing. And finally, we have the Four of Cups in reverse. Now, the Four of Cups is typically kind of a card of feeling like you've lost something, kind of stagnating in your own gloom, particularly related to emotions and love. But when it's in reverse, we do see that changed. So, and here they've written it as positive outlook, seizing opportunity, looking forward, excitement. This little stick figure is sitting here like, meh. But the cloud offering the cup is facing in. So perhaps this individual returned to this situation and found fidelity, particularly if they were the one who initiated any kind of infidelity. Maybe they decided like, okay, I'm done with that. I've had my, experiences and I'm returning to the home situation. So we have a return back to the home base. Or this person decided to make the best of either a divorce or a loss or a love that wasn't quite right. Now, if it's not related to a love, then maybe it's to the career situation. But because of all these cups cards and the lovers here, I feel that this is very possibly having to do with a marriage or a relationship that took up a lot of their energy in early adulthood to middle age. And that could either be having to do with divorce again, or separation, or just bickering, or just feeling lonely in the relationship. That is primarily what I get from this. But then we transition to later life. And when I say later life, it's whatever comes after middle adulthood for that whole span. So we see the sun, which is awesome. We see joy, success, celebration, and positivity. We see the Ace of Cups. New love, creativity, emotional awakening, and fulfillment. So here they have a huge burst of things just falling into place. In these later years, maybe they find true romance. Maybe they find a new love opportunity, or maybe they just feel love within themselves and feel whole and complete within themselves for the first time in a long time. We do have this Two of Swords energy, which is indecision, overthinking, seeing the truth, and inner turmoil. So I'd like to get clarity on that card. But as the overarching energy that they had, it was the Nine of Cups, which is incredible. So let's see for this father figure, what was going on with that Two of Swords there in their life toward the end there? I don't want to say the end, but toward the third act. Now, some screenwriters do prefer a 4-act structure. I totally feel you on that. But because we separated this into 3, we're going third act. Seven of Wands. Interesting. Okay. Feeble-minded, scared to fight, pushover, and lack of courage. So while we have the Sun and we have the Ace of Cups, incredibly what we would consider positive cards, bringing good emotions, although I'm of the mind that every experience is positive, bigger picture. However, for the purposes of this discussion, we have this kind of positivity, but the foundations of it are tormented. We have feeble-minded, scared to fight, pushover, and lack of courage. So this individual, while they found emotional fulfillment, toward the end of their life, toward the third act, we see air and fire both blocked. Now, air is our thinking mind, and when it comes to the Two of Swords, this can sometimes mean, again, something to do with infidelity or being unable to decide between two options. And because of the romance theme that I keep seeing here, this might be two people. And we also see the the Seven of Wands, which is feeble-minded, scared to fight, pushover, and lack of courage. So this person either is struggling or did struggle with aligning with their emotional fulfillment to a certain degree because of a fear of taking action and because they're tormented by anxious thoughts. It could very well have to do with, which is the root cause of pretty much all of our issues everywhere, a lack of self-trust or a lack of self-esteem, something going on with a heart wounding. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But because we see here that the Hanged Man and completion are the theme of their life, And it's kind of like the big lesson that they were repeatedly coming back to. I do believe that this individual found or finds ways to be at peace with the events of their life, even in the face of disappointments, even in the face of frustration. And what they're learning or learned from these shaky foundations for these incredibly positive emotions is that even when you feel you're lacking the stuff to do what it takes, you can find serenity in the discomfort. You can find serenity in the pause. You can find peace and more wisdom by changing your perspective, which is what the Hanged Man is all about. So now that we have a better understanding of this father figure, let's take a look at your dad's or this father figure's specific message or advice for you. So we'll clear out some space here. And for this portion, we are going to look at the Tarot of the Sidhe, an incredible deck. Sidhe is not spelled like you would think. Tarot of the Sidhe, it's got this cool spelling on it, Sidhe, but it represents these magical beings. Some might say extraterrestrial, some might say fairy, with this glyph that is a portal into their space. And I'm not sure why I selected this deck for all of today's readings, for this segment of the reading, but it kind of just called out for it. And the readings we've had so far with this deck in this session about our fathers have been absolutely incredible. So let's see what your dad's specific advice or message is for you. It often has to do, so far, the trend is, it often has to do with their life and their experiences, which is why there's value in exploring what they went through, what made them become who they are, and then see how that affects. So advice from my beautiful blue feather crew. Talkative, and I feel one more. Okay, let's see. What does your archetype father person have to say, my beautiful blue feather crew? I'm sending you all the love. You deserve it so much. Let's pop you back down there and see what's up. Warrior 7, a hero's challenge. Yeah, sure enough. Oh my goodness, what did I just say? We just saw it in the later life portion, not to get ahead of myself, but I get excited about these things. That in the later, okay, right. So here is the 7 of Wands, right? Yeah. And this is what this individual is working with. This energy that my authors here have written, feeble-minded, scared to fight, pushover, lack of courage, but also just feeling, for me, the way I always interpret the energy of this card is not feeling the self-worth to fight, not feeling the innate value of, I want this, I'm worthy of recognizing that I want this, and whether that makes me right or wrong, I don't know, and I don't care. I just know that it's what I want, it's in my heart, I have the fire, and I believe I'm worthy of it, so I'm going to fight, right? So we saw this energy was blocked in this individual, but here they are telling you, my beautiful blue feather crew, Warrior 7, a hero's challenge. Look how triumphant and powerful this warrior is with a flaming sword cutting through the moon. Now, where did I see a moon? Did I see a moon in here? Yes, in the 8 of Cups. Right, crescent moon. I was like, interesting that the face is drawn like sad, but in the crescent moon, there's no color. Well, here we see, so whatever this abandonment, disappointment, and finding new past and failed attempts was in childhood, there's some connection. We've got the same crescent moon here behind this fiery sword. Cut through your insecurities, cut through your fears, fire away. Okay, the warrior, fire. So don't be afraid to embrace your inner fire. Just because I never did, just because I didn't fight the way that I could have fought for the things that I wanted and dreamed of and desired, no matter how anyone judged those to be, even if I didn't, you can. Dreamer 6, Insights Voyage. And Maker Princess, Gift of Creativity. Okay, so this father archetype is saying, my child, you are a hero. You are up to the challenge. You're a warrior. This volcano is erupting and this powerful person is literally grabbing a lightning bolt. This is such a powerful, this is why this deck was screaming out to be part of this reading, because it is incredibly empowering. You are the warrior who can capture your dreams. Don't be afraid to look inside and gather your self-awareness and see what you want and see who you are, and then let the winds of fate blow you in the direction that you're meant to go. But don't rely on those winds of fate like I did. Fight. Don't be afraid to fight. Use your fire, use your power, use your courage. And as you do, you'll find that your creative desires manifest, that you become so fertile and abundant, and that your wish is the command of the universe as you fantasize and dream about what you want and make it happen. This is the gift of creativity. So if you're willing, and if you put in the work, and if you put in the effort, and if you have the stamina and you fight for it, you can make your dreams come true. And you can manifest literally whatever it is that you want. If you're a creative, which I sense so many of you are, this is a piece of advice from this individual saying, don't just rely on talent. Don't just rely on the winds of fate. Use your fire. Use your power. You are alive in this world. I've seen this little quote that says something like, you are not a tree. You can get up and walk. You can move. You aren't rooted to one space forever. You have autonomy, you have agency, you have strength. Use it. Powerful, powerful message. Awaken the warrior within, my beautiful blue feather crew. The warrior in you. Amazing. Now we're going to find out what your father figure archetype's favorite thing about you is. So, one more sip of tea. And then we roll. Kim Krantz's Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. It's truly incredible. I don't know if it's because it's round or what. No, that's not the only reason. There's more to it than that. Okay, I'm moving my legs very slowly so that they don't fall asleep. Thank you for being patient with me, my beautiful blue feather crew. You're amazing. Oh, and did I mention you're so worthy of love? Have I said that? Let's just take a moment and admire. You're incredible. You're brilliant. You're a warrior. And you're so worthy of love above all else. Okay. The only thing about this round deck, and the thing is my hands are pretty diminutive. So it gets tricky. Ooh. All right. Beautiful spirit, what is my blue feather crew's father archetype's favorite thing about my blue feather crew? Oh yeah, that comes right up. Anyone else want to come through? Okay. And anything else want to come through? Yeah. Oh, 2. Don't mind if I do. And once again, oh my goodness, this has been consistent so far with every crew. My lavender, silver feather crews, same thing. It's like the dads just want to rave about their favorite things. Ooh, the river. The shapeshifter. Oh yeah, big artist vibes here. The thread. Oh my goodness. And the stone. Okay. Here's what your father, literal father, or father archetype's favorite things about you are. You are magical to this individual. Whoever it is that you selected to understand more about yourself or more about them, to get a message from this person, here's their message for you. You're amazing. You're the river. Immediately Pocahontas vibes with the song that's in the Disney Pocahontas movie. But I'm sure this has been said many times before. You never step in the same river twice. The water is always changing, always flowing. If feel free to correct that in the comments if that's not accurate. But the gist is always changing, always flowing. Look how beautiful this looks alongside you, by the way. You being represented by the blue feather. Like, this is art. And then in the reflection, we see the stallion. Why is that giving me the warrior vibes? Again, was there a warrior on that, or was there a stallion on this card? No stallion, and yet it's reminding me a lot of these cards here. Now, this is fire, and in a river is water. But what I think I'm taking away here is movement. Movement and action. The river is always flowing, always changing, always moving. And there's a gift in that. That's immense healing. That's nourishing everything that it passes by. And we see that again in the thread. The thread in this deck is considered the connecting factor between so many different parts of this life. The thread is an individual who connects, who makes things make sense. They're a constant. They weave themselves through so many moments and so many energies, and they hold everything together. And if the thread starts to unravel, if this individual starts to unravel, everything falls apart because their constancy, just like this here, the stone. And I think it's so interesting that we see the stone and the river here brought together by the shapeshifter. Now, a stone can be in a river. You've heard of a river stone, right? So to this person, you're like this constant. You're the thread. You're the constant. You're something that holds everything together while also being able to move and be able to flow. And it's just a magical, effervescent combination of qualities. Their favorite thing about you is that you can become whatever you need to be, not just to thrive, not just to survive, but to thrive. And also maybe not to thrive. Maybe you're an incredible survivor too. Maybe you've been dealt some rough blows, and this person has watched, either from spirit or in the third physical dimension, you overcome things and watch you switch between the river and the stone, watch you shapeshift as necessary because you're resilient, because you're brilliant, because you're the thread. And I suspect that to this person, for many of you, you're a very important part of their life. When they look at you, I think they think, that's my legacy. That's why my life makes sense. That beautiful blue feather crew is why my life is what my life is. The best part of it, that I am so proud of. And we saw that here so many times. Like, yeah, that's my kid. When I watch you finding the balance in your life, boldly expressing your creativity, and building on the garden that began with me, I say, yeah, that's my kid. And we saw in this reading, this father archetype is the most expressive, most emotional, most in tune with their emotions father archetype that we've explored thus far. And we see that here in what they value in you. They love that you flow like a river. They love that you're in touch with your emotions. They love that you're the stone. They love that you're constant. They were kind of the stone too, particularly in their childhood, as they worked through finding their craft and then building their abundance in whatever relevant way this was for them, whether it's talent or material acquisition. They love that about you. They love that you can do both, kind of like they did. And they love that you're the thread, you're the constant. So this individual sees the best of themselves in you and loves you for it. Absolutely. So now, what blessing is this individual going to send you? Let's discover. We're going to put the Hanged Man aside with the knowledge that that was their overarching energy of their life. And now we're going to see what blessing they're sending you. Now, it doesn't matter whether they're shining on the other side or right here in the third dimension. This blessing comes from their higher self. It's something they know will benefit you. It's something that blessings from a father figure are particularly powerful. Even if this is not an individual who you have a relationship with, the symbolism and the archetype that they fill in your life, which is precisely the reason that you sought them out in this reading today, is powerful and it is significant. So we're going to take this blessing, and once we've got it, we're going to light this beautiful candle and claim it and make it your own. So what is it, Spirit? What is it that this, okay. Ooh, retirement. Fascinating. This could be literal retirement for you, like leaving your current job position and just kicking your feet up and officially retiring. Or this could mean so many other things. To retire is to rest. To retire is to relax. This is giving Four of Swords energy. The blessing that they're sending you is whatever resources are required for you to get more rest, for you to have more introspection. And what I'm hearing is for you to have more time to play with your hobbies and creativity in a fun and lighthearted way. This individual thinks that maybe you've got a lot on your plate, and maybe they've watched you from whatever realm they're in juggle so many things and just keep going, keep surviving, keep heading towards thriving. But they want you to thrive in peace. They want you to be able to rest, if not to literally retire from your work, which may very well be what the blessing that they're sending you. They want you to feel abundant enough and relaxed enough to not have to hustle anymore. And with this pink flower, I'm getting huge romance and love vibes here. So even though it's not written on the card, this individual is also blessing you with love. And they're blessing you with a feeling of being loved, being surrounded by love. Like we see this butterfly here is just totally encapsulated in this beautiful heart chakra pink romantic love sensation, nourishing, almost empress-like energy. If I could translate the energy that I'm getting into traditional tarot archetypes, it would be the Empress. This individual wants you to be so abundant and so creative and free that you're able to just put your feet up, quit the hustle, and retire and relax. So this is the blessing they're sending you, and if you would like to receive it, we're going to light this candle on your behalf. I've got 2 other candles burning for my lavender and silver feather cruise, and yours is about to join them. So, Spirit, we accept this blessing on my beautiful blue feather crew's behalf, that they may be able to retire with abundance into a lifestyle that allows them more time, more energy, more resources to use on whatever the heck they want, especially if that's rest. If they can benefit from rest, we're calling that in for them right now. We're calling in rest, rejuvenation, relaxation, abundance, fertility, Empress vibes. Spirit knows what that is. So now, my beautiful blue feather crew, I'm setting this over to the side. Bloop. And I'm reminding you that you are so worthy of all the love in this universe. Let's set your retirement aside for a moment and talk about you. Whatever brought you to this reading today, my job, my divine assignment is to make sure that when you leave, it's with more love than when you arrived. So I'm letting you know that you're absolutely loved and supported by me in the universe. You're always welcome in the little reader's house. The little reader's house, which would be me. That's me. And I'm so glad and happy that you're here. Glad and happy, we're just going to say those are 2 different things. If you resonated with this reading, I would probably pay money to hear the context of how, but instead I pay with time. So please feel free to comment down below and let me know if this resonated, if it aligned, if segments were dead on, or the entire thing, or none of it, and you were like, it was just funny and you amused me. Whatever it was, feel free to comment because I'd love to read it. If you want to like, it's much appreciated. And if you want to subscribe so that you can always come to the Little Reader's house whenever you need a boost of love, then I would absolutely love that too. I'm sending you all the love I got, Blue Feather Crew. Go out there and soar, fly and be the warrior that I know you are. Bye. Hello, my beautiful green feather crew. Welcome to your reading on a message from your father. Now, as I told my last 3 crews, one of whom's feather I'm going to fix off to the side, out of frame, Perfectionist vibes, anyone? As I told my last 3 crews, I am a chronic intro skipper. And as humans love to do, I'm going to project myself onto you and say that maybe you're a chronic intro skipper too. If you're not, please comment it so I know that I'm alone. That is why I have put a mini intro in every single one of our crews for the day. So let me explain how it's all going to go down. We are reading a father figure's higher self's message today, which means that it's not necessarily what the person would say to you in the third dense dimension that we're in if they could speak, because in this dimension we've got our ego, we've got our personas, we've got our opinions, we've got our survival needs, we've got everything that we've constructed to show other people who we are. There's a lot of shadows layered on top of it. But for the higher self, there's a lot more light that can come through and a lot more love that can come through. So that's where we're getting the message today. Now, does the father figure have to share DNA with you? Absolutely not. It can be any archetype that you want it to be. And if you realize that now and you're like, oh shoot, well then I wouldn't have picked the green feather crew. Had I known that, I would have picked the silver feather crew. Then maybe that's for you to do, or any of the other crews. But now that you know, here's how we roll. It can be someone you're related to. It can be someone you're not related to. It can be someone who identifies as male. It can be someone who doesn't identify as male. It can be anyone who fits the father archetype for you. And they can also be alive with us in the third dimension, or they could be shining on the other side, no longer here with us physically. Woo! So that's my speech. Next, I'm also going to let you know that today, after we read this beautiful letter, which let me briefly say, some of the letters have made me cry. I love to cry. I'm a crier. Please feel free to also cry if you're a crier. But if you don't like to cry or crying is triggering in any way, just please note that now. After we read the letter, we're going to find out all about your dad's journey. Then we're going to get a specific message from your father figure to you. It's either going to be advice or a message for you about a situation that you'll understand. Then we're going to look at your dad's favorite things about you, if this is your dad, or your father figure's favorite things about you. Then this individual is going to send you a blessing and we're going to receive it. We're going to light this tea light. I've got 3 other tea lights going and we're going to burn them to completion as a sacred honoring ritual for you to receive this blessing. Because why? Because above all, you deserve love, my beautiful green feather crew. And you know what? You deserve good things too. Sometimes blessings are love in the material. Sometimes a material blessing can be a physical manifestation of love. So we're going to make sure that you get that in there too. That's my speech. I'm sticking with it. Let's dive in. I'm going to move your beautiful self over here because I like to see you. I'm going to take a sip of tea. And then we're going to open this guy. Okay, here we go. Dear, your name. It's so wonderful to hear from you. Seems like a while since our spirits communed. How have you been? I've been well. I'm learning a lot. I wish I could put it all into words, but it would take a novel. If I could put it into one word, I've been learning about the art of transformation. One thing becoming another. Darkness becoming light. Ignorance becoming knowledge. This journey that I've been on has been long. One of the most important things that I've learned is the importance of accountability and how the intention behind each of our actions affects our present and, of course, our future. I have a long way to go, but I think by the end of this thing, I'm going to be a fully fledged butterfly. I've realized that your journey and your maturation and growth has been a major part of my own. And in your own patience, steadfastness, and strength in your life, you have helped me in mine. I think maybe you've been my guardian, my protector, and my hero all along. I can never say thank you enough. Let's keep walking these parallel roads together, and I pray that when they intersect again, I can thank you properly with all the love you deserve. Love, me. Okay, that's the letter. This letter's when I channel it and them. I don't change anything. Sometimes I do question what's being written, but I flow with it. And this was the only one to be signed, me. All right, we're going to set this off to the side, and we're going to dive in to your father figure's life. Why are we gaining this understanding? Well, first of all, I wasn't sure when I started, because I pretty much let my guides run the show. Although I do occasionally offer strong resistance. Whoops. My strong resistance is usually quickly overruled. I've come to realize as we've gone through this reading that this segment adds an important context. Not only does it help us to humanize these father figures, it helps us to understand the advice that comes from them later. And there's been such a powerful correlation between their lived experience and the advice that they are offering to each of my crews that it's actually mind-blowing. And once again, it does move the emotions. So that is why we look at who this individual is, I think, is to humanize and recognize that every story has value. So that's why we're here. This is the Doodle Tarot. The deck arrived today. I've only used it as many times as I've read today, which has been for the 3 crews preceding yours. And I've loved it every single time. So, beautiful spirit, what do my remarkable green feather crew need to know about the life of this father figure? Starting with their childhood. What was their childhood like? What did it feel like? What did they learn? And then moving into their early adulthood and their middle age. What did they learn? What did it feel like? What was the journey like? What did they go through? And then in closing, their later life till now, or till their passing. Oh, interesting. Let me get the bottom of the deck draw. A totally different energy, which means some kind of big shift here. And I'm also being moved to check out. Oh, it's the Hanged Man in reverse. That is a preceding energy here. Now, that's really interesting because the Hanged Man was the presiding energy of our last crew. And when I say that, what I mean is from this 22 Tarot Major Arcana deck, we're going to be looking at what was the major presiding, was or is the major presiding energy of this father figure's life. It's the lesson they always came back to. It's what their karmic cycle was about, their reason for coming here to this plane, to this life, to this earth at this time. It was for them to learn. So what is it? What was it? What's going on there? So that's what we've got here. So we know that the back of the deck is the Hanged Man energy. Let's check this one out. The Hierophant, which is number 5. Now, typically this has to do with, as we know, tradition, religion, ways of doing things, potentially the political system or laws, legislation, authority. Here, they've written it as exhilaration with a number 5. Now, 5 is often a number of change. It can also be a number of turbulence. But here we have as exhilaration, which is remember to enjoy the victory and the accomplishments. Celebrate, spread good cheer, and reward the fruit of your work. Celebration and joy. Now, I'd like to make a note about this. Even though this is the presiding energy of their life, it's not necessarily the presiding energy that they brought into the manifestation of their life. So what I mean by that is when a being is on their spiritual journey and they have an assignment to learn a certain lesson or embody a certain energy, some beings, particularly old souls who are well advanced, can channel and bring in their assignment and bring that energy with them to their waking life all the time. So some individuals who have the Hierophant assignment might bring this energy of exhilaration everywhere they go, and you're like, damn, that person's really embodied. And you see this card and it all makes sense. But I'm here to tell you that I would say maybe for most of us humans at this particular incarnation, at this time, in this iteration of humanity, we'll talk more about that at another time, but in this iteration of humanity at this time, I would say most of us don't embody our lesson too much. Some do, some outstanding individuals do, and these are people who are aligned, they understand their native energies, they somehow instinctively realize what they're supposed to bring with them to this incarnation, and they bring it. They do the work, they do the shadow work, whatever it is, they really tap into that, to the light aspect of this lesson. But a lot of us, including myself, often tap into the shadow side of our lesson. So for someone who has the Hierophant and exhilaration, if they're tapped into the shadow side of their lesson, what that would look like is maybe a lot of disrespect for authority, a lot of frustration, sorrow, pent up feelings, the opposites of exhilaration, the opposites of victory, maybe not bringing good cheer, maybe kind of being a stick in the mud, or oh man, I wanted to curse, but sometimes I know I shouldn't. You get me though. We don't always express the light aspects of our assigned energy. That's what I'm trying to say. But we took a really roundabout way to get there, didn't we? Thanks for bearing with me. Okay, tea sipped. Let's look at their childhood and see what is going on here. We've got the Lovers in reverse. We've got the Seven of Wands in reverse. And we've got the Star upright. So this is their childhood experience. Interestingly, we've had the Lovers come up once and the Seven of Wands come up a couple of times. Never in the childhood section though. Now, early adulthood to middle age. I don't know why I'm flipping them all at once. We've got the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. We've got the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. That also came up recently. And we've got the Four of Wands upright. This also came up recently. This is fascinating. I'm noticing trends here. And as a psychology major, I must say it does things for me. Maybe I'll break that down later when it becomes relevant. So here, this is later adulthood to now. Or if this individual has gone on to shine on the other side, it's later adulthood to death. Okay, number 1, we have the Magician. First time seeing this bad boy. Number 8, we have Strength. Wow, 2 major arcana and both upright. Someone do something. We've got the Two of Swords upright. And we've got the Nine of Swords in reverse. Okay, I'm just going to spill the beans on some of the trends I'm noticing. And I do not have any answers. That's important to mention. So let's not get hopeful about that. But I will point out the cold hard facts. That for only 1 of 4 piles, I believe that's 25%, have had any Cups cards in this life overview. See, the intention of this is kind of to be like the old This Is Your Life's show. I don't know if you're familiar with that show. A lot of actors and artists went on it. The Betty Davis one is my personal favorite. But This Is Your Life was a reflection of actors and artists' life in which they're invited onto a show and people from all across their lives show up, like their early movies, or if they were a director, the people who they worked with. It was a fascinating show that I absolutely love. And this kind of gives me those vibes. This is your life. We've looked at all these father archetypes' lives, and only 1 group out of 4 has had Cups cards in it. That is so interesting to me, because Cups are emotion, expression, creativity. What we see time and time again are Pentacles, Swords, and Wands in reverse. So if you're like me and you love to extrapolate and you find the human psyche fascinating, please share with me in the comments what you make of that. And what does that say about the way that maybe masculine energy is expressed, given that this is a masculine archetype based reading. That's why I say that. Anyway, thank you for going with me on that journey. Let's center back, my green feather crew. I'm sorry I took us on a tangent. We're back. So let's look at childhood here. Here's what I'm seeing. 2 major arcana cards. Wow. So childhood was an influential time. The first thing is the Lovers in reverse. Now, does that mean that this individual as a child had a lover? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. What instead I'm going to say is this is more symbolic of them finding their inner harmony and their inner unity. Early on in life, I think it's a particularly, I know, it's a particularly crucial time for the neural pathways to form. And in that time, as we're pruning our neurons, which means we're chopping away some of what's not required in order to perform effectively and efficiently and healthfully in this world with all of our mental faculties. The events that occur in those early developmental stages can make or break the function of our brain later. And I make that sound very dramatic and black or white. It's not really that black or white. But what I'm saying is if we have trauma in early childhood, it affects us later. What we learn in if we have a synergy in early childhood, like if we're introduced to instruments and music, stories and imagination, reading, all of these things create like an imaginative quality that helps to facilitate our assimilation of the life experience. Let me say that in a better way, or in a simpler way. If we have a well-rounded, balanced childhood, it can often help us have a well-rounded, balanced adulthood and larger life. I don't know why I'm going on so many rants with this crew. So maybe this individual, is it you, Father? Is it you who's making me rant? If it is, I appreciate it because I enjoy it, but I don't know how our green feather crew is gonna handle. I'm sorry so much for the rants. Respectfully to the energy that I'm channeling, let's try and keep it succinct. I have not been able to say that word well tonight. So, the reason I went on that rant is to say that children don't often have lovers, although separate conversation there, we'll sidebar about that one-on-one if you want to in the comments section. But here, what I'm seeing is a loss of balance, one-sidedness, disharmony. I'm going to skip the infidelity and say that this individual was instead dealing with some kind of feeling of not being well-rounded, not being, here's what I'm hearing, valid. Not being valid. Now, maybe they were what was once termed an invalid, which is, we'll sidebar about that too, about the choice of word there. But not being valid is something I'm hearing. So if this individual felt for whatever reason that they were an outlier, maybe they had some kind of illness, or maybe they encountered some kind of injury, or maybe something happened developmentally. Maybe that's why I went on that whole speech. But whatever it was, something was off to such a significant degree that it's a major arcana represented here as the very first card of their childhood journey, which is big time. That could be anything. That could be a congenital illness or issue. It could have been, like I said, an injury, just something that really made them feel, well, I keep hearing this over and over, not valid, not valid. What does that mean? Something about that reminds me of citizenship too. So maybe there's something of that there. Maybe there was immigration. Maybe it took a long time to get citizenship, or that was something that didn't happen early on. I'm not sure of the specific because it's a general reading. I cannot nail it down to one. It would never be accurate. But I see that something big had this individual out of balance in early childhood. And then here's another thing, going with the neuron and the brain pruning and all that whole speech. Feeble-minded, scared to fight, pushover, lack of courage. The feeble-minded, I feel like this card's already come up multiple times in our readings today, but I haven't focused on that feeble-minded as much as I'm feeling the urge to focus on it now. Now, I'm also hearing there may have been absolutely nothing amiss about this individual as a child. However, there may have been people who made them think or feel like they were less than. Someone might have been abusive in this situation. Someone might have treated them poorly as an infant. Maybe even there might have been some abuse there. maybe possibly from their father. But just maybe calling them stupid or calling them an idiot or just something that in childhood really made them feel disempowered and like they didn't have their equal, or they were not an equal to others. They were not an equal to other children. Maybe not even an equal to their siblings. Black sheep of the family. Totally possible here. And yet, as we get to their later childhood, we have the star. So dual major arcana in the childhood, very significant. Here we have hope, faith, rejuvenation, and spirituality. So this individual, either they had a glow up, as the kids love to say, or they just glowed up in their own mind. They may have just developed this mental resilience where they're like, you know, I might be shit according to everybody else, but that's not the way I see it. Or if it's not the way that they see it, they choose to hope. Maybe they do or did believe that they weren't worthy. Maybe they did have this rough upbringing where they were treated less than. But maybe in spite of that, they chose to hope that they could be something bigger and be something better. The star, a glow up is the perfect way to say it. I mean, look, a star glows. What else does it do? So I really feel like in childhood, it was rough in the beginning, but then it took a turn. They either gained respect from their peers and potentially parents and caregivers, or they just began to respect themselves, or they just became an optimist and were like, you know what? I have hope anyway. You can't take that away. So we move then into early adulthood through middle age. Now that's a lot of ground to cover with so little space, and I'm seeing now that I've had my cards cut off on the bottom in the viewfinder for a while now, so I'm so sorry about that if you couldn't see what's going on in the bottom here. But here's what we see when they enter into early adulthood through their middle age, and we'll get clarifiers if necessary. The Knight of Pentacles. So they start off with all this potential, but because the Knight of Pentacles is pure potentiality in the monetary form. So we have the pentacle, which represents the coin. They start out with this movement, our little knights on a horse, right? So I think this individual started with more, it's not a page, it's one higher. So maybe this star translated into giving a boost to them somehow, either in college or in initiating their career. But unfortunately, it didn't all come together easily. There was overthinking, they were scared, something was boring, and they felt like a deadbeat. Now, does this have to do with messaging that they received as a child, which led them to this outcome? Very possible. Because the next thing that we see happening is the Ten of Pentacles, our beloved money card of abundance, in reverse. Here we have financial collapse, fake money, family feud, and loss. This reminds me of Monopoly for whatever reason, the fake money thing, and then family feud being a game show. That might mean something. But unfortunately, this rough start kind of took an even rougher turn. Maybe they got into student debt, if that was a thing for this generation, or maybe they just couldn't get it right. Maybe they tried to work a trade instead and they weren't about that. We see over here, boring and deadbeat. It almost seems like maybe they didn't try college at all, or maybe they just went into some kind of job just for the sake of having a job, and then started to feel like a failure, significantly like a failure, have all kinds of false starts here financially with their early adulthood to middle age. But then we have the Four of Wands. We have celebration, marriage, coming home, and belonging. And I do believe for this individual, it may very literally have been marriage. Their finances may not have been great, but I think they found satisfaction in finding a partnership. They found satisfaction in love, in romance. Did I say passion? Passion comes to mind. We can get another clarifier to see whatever happened here with the money situation. Because, again, it's a lot of ground to cover early adulthood all the way through middle age. And I guess it's how you define these groups of time, like middle age and such, but I'm defining it however their generation, however your father figure would define it. I think Gen Z probably defines middle age differently than the baby boomer generation does, right? So yeah, base it off of whatever they would say. So, Spirit, a little clarity. Whatever happened to their finances, or what was the continuing story? A little more insight. What else stood out in their life in this age? We don't want a continuation. We want a little bit more information, please. What else stood out in their life? Oh, interesting. Well, that's a major piece of the puzzle. So we go from Four of Wands, celebration, marriage, coming home, and belonging, to Two of Cups in reverse, disharmony, divorce, breakup, and disagreement. So, rough stuff. The financial struggles are here, and then there's a union, and they're like, woohoo! And maybe a child comes out of it. Maybe that's you. And then, unfortunately, we see this disharmony, divorce, breakup, and disagreement. We see 3 Ds here. That's interesting. But it's a sad time. It probably means the dissolution of this union. So all in all, it looks like the 20s through 30s and possibly 40s, again, depending on how you define middle age, how they define middle age, were tough. But what do tough times do in a perfect world, which, you know, maybe we live in, even for all of its shadows? Tough times can sometimes build character. And we see that here in the final stages. And I say final stages, but if this person's still among the land of the living, I don't mean their death is imminent. And if they have passed on, I just mean all the way up until such a time that they did pass on. This is more like the 3rd act. So this is like the first, setting the stage for the story. The 2nd, the meat. And then some climactic moments happening here. And we see that because check it out. We've got, again, 2 major arcana cards. So childhood was very significant and later adulthood was very significant. It seems like in here was a mess of events that were probably not emotionally fulfilling. Oh, and this is a Cups card. That's worth noting. Not super emotionally fulfilling. It's like no element really ever came to ultimate fruition here. We have our earth, which is represented by the pentacles. We have fire represented by wands, and we have cups represented by water, but we don't ever see this pinnacle. We don't really see a pinnacle here of completion. But then we go here. It's like a fresh start happened. So we have the Magician. The Magician, I love this card. It's willpower, desire, creation, manifestation. It's someone who gets a new lease on life. And that's funny. I was thinking of Monopoly earlier with the fake money and Family Feud. And doesn't this kind of give the Monopoly dudes vibe a little bit? The mustache and the face. For whatever reason, I don't know what his name is. The guy with the top hat. Hey, top hat. And Monopoly. Anyway, the Magician. Willpower, desire, creation, manifestation. This is all about alchemy. And here we see all of the elements represented. So you know how I said nothing ever came to completion here? Well, here we have a pentacle, a cup, a wand, and a sword. And this individual is kind of learning about their magical powers. We also have strength, inner strength, bravery, compassion, focus. So somewhere along the line from this time of disharmony and dishevel, we transition to, boom, coming into one's own power and discovering one's own inner strength. Amazing. Now, we do see that there is some difficulty here. Tough decisions, stalemate, stuck in the middle, blind to the truth, a 2 of swords. Maybe it's possible this is about another relationship. Maybe it's not a fulfilling relationship, or maybe it's the same relationship that the chapter never closed on it. And again, more worry and anxiety, 9 of swords. Fortunately, this 9 of swords is in reverse, so it's kind of like there has been a lot of worry. Maybe it's all the worry that's going on for a lot of their life, trying to make ends meet, trying to create some semblance of a family life, maybe trying to shield certain people from hard truths and pain. But now we see recovering, facing fear, extreme regret, and accept help. So monsters under the bed are represented here with the swords and the tear in bed. I get from this some loneliness. So I don't think that this Two of Swords is, for most of the fathers being represented in this general reading, is about a relationship. I think it's about a path and making a decision, because we see all this strength and power here. But then the question is, how am I going to use it? And will I feel guilty for using it? Remember that we saw the Hanged Man at the bottom of the deck when we initially dealt. And I get Hanged Man energy here. Again, I'm strong. I have gifts. I finally know what those are, but I feel guilty about using them. Kind of goes back to what we talked about here with the Hierophant. Exhilaration is the name of the game for this individual's life. Feeling exhilaration, allowing themselves to get off, if you will, or be pleasured by their own innate authority. And we're seeing some of that authority show up with the Magician. And yet on the shadow side of that, part of them won't let them feel the good cheer and enjoy the rewards, the fruit of their work. So that is what this individual either dealt with in their life or is dealing with, because this represents present time now. It's a sort of coming of age, third act, not mid, but what's not mid, but like third quarter life crisis, you could say, is just wondering, what will I do with what I've learned? What will I leave behind? And these secret worries, I'm just curious. I want to get one more card to find out what these worries are about. What do you think, Green Feather Crew? Do you already know? You just waiting for me to figure it out? Oh, okay. Holding back, recklessness, gullible, distracted. Another major arcana card. Looking at this spread, and I've seen this in a lot of This Is Your Life spreads, doing both for individuals and for groups. Sometimes you can pinpoint when the most change, when the universe is going to pressure an individual the most in their lifespan to really come out swinging and do or be or become or alchemize their life into the thing that they were supposed to alchemize it into. In this case, into the Hierophant, into that authority who brings exhilaration, celebrates victories and accomplishments, and spreads good cheer. And we can see that the pressure is on in this third act. Whether this life has already closed a chapter or whether it's still going strong, the Fool in reverse means that this individual is holding back, scared to take a chance, scared to jump into the unknown. Maybe they're new to this phase of their life, but the universe is putting the pressure on, or did put the pressure on here. Very significant time in the third act. So now that we know a little bit more about your father archetype, let's discover what their advice is for you. So we've looked at them. Now they're going to turn around and look at us. Ooh, it's exciting. Okay, so we're using the Tarot of the Sidhe, super empowering imagery on this card. Now, I believe these are Celtic fairies or extraterrestrials, the Sidhe. I mean, there's a lot of talk about who and what they are, but this author slash deck creator put immense amount of beautiful energy into creating this deck, and it truly does feel like a portal to this land. So I recommend it, whether you're a reader or I just recommend you look. If you're listening, maybe enjoy the imagery here, because I certainly find it to be muy powerful. So Spirit, please hit us with the advice or the message that this father wants to give their child for wherever they are in life right now. It's timeless. Whoops. As of this moment, this reading, no matter when this was recorded, what is my Green Feather Crew gonna hear? Advice from their father. Oh, and we're doing the bottom of the deck. Okay. Okay, here we go. Dancer 2, Soulmates. Wow. Maker King, Gift of Skill. The warrior, fire. Oh my gosh, this is like an amalgamation of, I want to say this was my blue feather crew. And I want to say this was my silver feather crew. Ooh, and the devil, who is Pan in this deck. For my Spanish speakers, because I've made fun of this a lot in my life, not related to bread. Yeah. One day I'll try to do a reading in Spanish, but I don't think we'll all love it that much. So my beautiful green feather crew, starting with the message here. I love that the cups have been included, right? It's because I said before, and again, this is a thing that I tend to see trending in this particular reading, is that the life lived by our Father translates directly into the advice given. Like where there were gaps and things that didn't happen for them, they then translate that into a message and an advice, and it's absolutely brilliant. So here we see the Dancer 2, soulmates. This is the Two of Cups. Now, what did we see here? Okay, we saw the Lovers in reverse. Oh yes, it was the Four of Wands. So we see there was this relationship with the Four of Wands and the Two of Cups in reverse here. And this is not the first time this has happened, but I get chills to the bone that it's happening again. Literally, the message that's being given here is, well, let me say, value your relationships and don't be afraid to do crazy things for love. I struggled in love. I had disharmony. I had divorce, breakup, and disagreement. I had struggles. But I know that love is worth fighting for. I know that romance, in particular, romantic love, is worth fighting for, living for. Here we see two perfect match. The soulmate card covered by the rainbow and the koi, which symbolize strength, soulmate, karmic bonds, divine counterparts. Your Father wants you to know that love is worth fighting for. And if you ever wondered for a second if it wasn't, especially based off the relationship that you might have witnessed between your parents, if that's who we're talking about here, your literal father figure, they're saying, yes, it's worth fighting for, even in spite of all the difficulties, even in spite of the trouble. And I'm so sorry if you were hurt or wounded by the way that I acted about love in my life. But I want you to know that irrespective of that, I do believe it is worth it, and I encourage you to fight for love. Also, integrity and skill. This Father is saying, don't be afraid to hone your skills. Don't be afraid to find out what is your own and work to make that thing. So if you're a creative, for instance, don't be afraid to create and to work on honing your craft. Here we have this Maker King, who's the King of Pentacles, producing this incredible crown that presumably he hammered himself, melted and formed, and he's holding it up, shining bright with fire coming out of it, like, hey, look what I made. I made my own crown. I am self-made. Now, it seems like this Father struggled to become self-made. Here we saw in that time, we saw the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. We saw the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. This individual may not have been self-made the way that they had hoped or knew that they could be underneath it all. But they're saying that you can, if you hone your skills and you relentlessly pursue your craft and you let what you're good at and what you're naturally skilled at take command and work based off of that, you will create something great that you can be proud of. You'll fashion your own crown. It's incredible. Next, the warrior, fire. So we've got a little bit of a fighter situation going on here, which I saw, I believe it was in, was it silver feather or blue feather? Or maybe there was a little bit of both in both. And if you've been listening to every single one, first of all, I love you for that so much, because I love that you enjoy my company as much as I enjoy yours. But if you did, maybe you can clarify in the comments below. But if you're fresh to this, my beautiful green feather crew, and this is your first one and only one maybe that you're listening to, I see a dynamic here that I saw before, which is don't be afraid to fight. Don't be afraid to take action, particularly if it's for love, particularly if it's toward your own skills. If you can fight or embody the warrior, or not be ashamed or afraid of your own fire to break through obstacles and to stand in the light of the sun, and if you can assert who you are, and what you desire, not just assert it, but come to know it within yourself, then you can have these things. You can have this beautiful romance. You can have this incredibly successful professional life, and you can be proud of all you are and all you do. Now, here we see Pan. It's the devil. He's got this chick seduced, and he's got the wine, and he's offering it to her. And I read this one in a lot of different ways, but the first one that's channeling out is, life is not about pleasure, my child. Some may have you think that it is. And for me, meaning this individual, I may have been distracted by pleasure and complacency in times when I should have had fire, when I should have been the warrior. There were struggles that maybe I dealt with by using alcohol. There were struggles that maybe I dealt with by using sex. There were things that I did. I numbed some of my wounds with pleasure. And now I know that life is not about pleasure. Exhilaration and pleasure are two very different things. The Hierophant is all about authority, control, tradition, and is not a slave or a victim to pleasure. Instead, if the Hierophant is going to enjoy pleasure, it's going to do it when the time is right. But this energy of presiding over, it reminds me of Stoic philosophy, honestly. And if that's something that resonates with you or that you're interested in or know about, and if you don't know about it yet, I really recommend @TheDailyStoic Ryan Holiday on Instagram as a great introduction. That was the first way that I got into Stoic philosophy. But this message reminds me of the Stoic philosophy, which is that if you identify who you are, identify your mission, and choose to be the warrior, not only can you have these beautiful things of being a self-made individual and the romance and validation and emotional love that you crave, you also won't be a slave to pleasure. And when the time comes to enjoy pleasure, enjoy it as a reward for your work and for your accomplishments, as a celebration of the effort that you've put in, it's going to be so much sweeter. It's not going to be trouble. It's not going to be a curse. It's going to be a blessing that you can enjoy without any kind of guilt or without numbing or escaping. So that is your dad's specific advice and message for you. Wow. Now let's look at your father figure's favorite thing about you. And I'm going to put the Hierophant off to the side and bust out Kim Krantz's deck. Before I do that, though, let's just take a little siesta moment. We've got a flow going, but you know what? Flows can be interrupted. How you doing, my beautiful green feather crew? I'm sending you all the love I got. You're here, you're listening to this information about your father figure, you're seeking it out, you're putting in the work, you're investing in connecting. And I absolutely love that, and I applaud you for it. Please know that you are so worthy of love, and I see you, and I'm so proud of you. And above all, you are worthy of love. Now, using Kim Krantz's amazing Archetypes deck, let's see what your father figure who you've selected today, from wherever they are in the universe, physical, non-physical, I guess there aren't really many other options than that. Let's see what they love about you most. Their favorite thing about you. And remember, even if you don't know this individual, you've never even met them, their higher self is connected to yours. When it is, when it is for the highest good of both of you. So you're out here reaching out to them. They're reaching back out to you right now through the screen, literally reaching through me to you to say, hey, Green Feather Crew, here are my favorite things about you. Okay, we're taking them both. And once again, it's been consistent for every crew. It's so funny. The father higher selves pretty much want to throw down the whole deck. And I'm like, okay, I love that. I love that, especially for my green feather crew. But we can't throw down the whole deck. We've got to pick some limited things. I know you love them and you love everything about them and you're so proud of them. It's a conundrum. The desert. This came up in my lavender feather crew. The vessel. Ooh. The orphan. This also came up in my lavender feather crew. I'm feeling like this father archetype is connected to all the others somehow. The offering. And the poet. Wow. Okay. I feel like these aren't in the right order. The desert, the vessel, the orphan, the offering, the poet. Oh, never mind. They're in the perfect order. Okay. So here's the deal. Boop. The amalgamation, or the combination of these archetypes represent this, the warrior. So your father figure was already getting a jump on what they love most about you before they even got to this segment of the reading, which I love. You are, in their eyes, the warrior. And in their eyes, as they have come to become the magician, where is that? As they have come to become the magician and discover their own strength, a revelation that they've had is that's been in you this entire time. And does that even go here with this? Yes. I've realized that your journey and your maturation and growth has been a major part of my own. And your own patience, steadfastness, and strength in your life, you have helped me in mine. I think maybe you've been my guardian, my protector, and my hero all along. Okay, so here's you. You've been in a state of abandonment before. Either emotional abandonment or literal abandonment, or maybe, see, the desert combined with the orphan is very distinct energy, and we had the same thing in my lavender feather crew, which speaks to me of being either abandoned, left behind, your needs not met emotionally, whatever it was like a very tough love, and I don't mean in the good way. I don't even know if there is a, we'll come back to that later, but a very tough love kind of vibe. In fact, this orphan hand even looks like, with this pixelated quality, reminds me of the graphic that's used for the desert here. And here we have two hands reaching out. This one's reaching up out of the sand and saying like, please, sustenance. And this one's reaching out of the sand in a sort of way, kind of asking for the same thing. And the flower is either falling from their hand or moving into their hand. But see, here with this snake, the snake is a symbol of great spiritual development. It could be a Kundalini awakening, which is this energy that yogis believe come from the spine. Well, no, it comes from the spine. It's at the seat of the spine. It's at the root chakra. And when it raises through the spine, this energy all the way to the crown releases this immense, powerful spiritual energy. The cobra is also synonymous or affiliated with healing. We have the vessel. So here's you, even in the desert, even abandoned, it's like, as an individual, regardless of how you identify gender-wise, the sun is still shining on you, and you're still a vessel that's being filled with the wisdom and the insights of the universe. So you were never forgotten by the universe, even if your caretakers or if your childhood or adult life were difficult and felt abandoned and like you were out here on your own. But you were the vessel the entire time. You were being filled with this wisdom and this insight. And now you have the ability to pour that out on people. And the people around you recognize it. They see it. You have something to give now. And we see all of these open hands. So you went reaching for sustenance. The orphan reaches out for something. But then you become the vessel. Your cup begins to be filled. And now you're the one giving the offering. What a transition. This is the Strength card if I've ever seen it. And I know, I just pulled it up. I just had it in my hand, but I gotta illustrate a story, man. This is the Strength card if I've ever seen it. In the original imagery, it's a woman taming a lion. This is like a very angry lion, but I don't know if taming's the right word. It's more like the lion is allowing itself to be tamed because it recognizes the gentleness and the innocence, and it doesn't want to use its strength to wound that woman who's taming the lion. They're working together harmoniously. And somehow I feel like this father figure is the woman and you're the lion. Like, you have all the power. You're the vessel. You have the ability to give the offering. On top of all of it, you're the poet. The poet is a sort of alchemist, which reminds me of the magician, but I'm not going to pull the deck back over again because we just looked at that. The poet is capable of transmuting the chaos and the pain of life into something that's healing and beautiful, not necessarily to read. You may read a poem that's like absolutely rips you a new one emotionally, but in the act of expression, there is an alchemization, a synthesis, a transformation, and the building of healing. It's a catharsis. Catharsis is the word I'm looking for. So your father figure's favorite thing about you is through all of this shit that you've been dealt and through all of the ways that you may have been left alone and abandoned, instead you became a vessel for universal wisdom. And now you're offering through your poetry and your art, your expression, your you-ness, the person that you are just by virtue of existing, has blessed the world and has blessed and inspired this person, this father figure, this person who's talking through me right now to say thank you. Thank you. I almost said thank you for being a better man than I am. And that may apply for some. But thank you for being you. That applies to all. Wow. So, let's get a blessing from your father figure. Blessings from father figures have special power by virtue of the role that this individual plays in our life. All archetypes have significance, and if you ever take a look at Kim Krantz's archetype deck, which we were just using, the book that comes with it, it's incredible. It describes archetypes. A father is an archetype. It is our first introduction, irrespective of how this individual identifies gender-wise, to projective masculine energy. And the way we're treated by that archetype, the individual who represents that archetype, teaches us a lot about how we expect that energy to manifest in our lives. So when that archetype blesses us, it teaches us something new, not just about the masculine energy, but about ourselves and that energy in us and what we're worthy of. So we're calling in a blessing from this father figure archetype that you've summoned today. And we're saying, hey, for my beautiful green feather crew, what blessing can you provide to them? Can you call in for them? Can you command for them that we will receive? And when we receive it, we'll light this candle in a sacred honoring ritual to bring it in. Oh, 2? That would be the first crew to get 2. All right. Memories. Oh. And adult children. Okay, this is funny because I knew this was going to come up at some point in the reading and I had no idea how I was going to explain it. But here it is, making perfect sense. And my first impulse is to start bawling, but I don't think I'm hydrated enough for that, to be honest. Your father figure is calling in forgiveness and a rebranding of the memories that his or their adult children have of them. And with it is delivering a message. The blessing is a form of forgiveness. Again, oh my gosh, it's a form of alchemy. So you remember the magician card. I keep saying it over and over again. What is alchemy? Alchemy is the transition of, very simply, in this most simple terms, transformation of one material to another. This father figure is turning pain into gratitude and saying, not only do I want to change your perspective on the memories that you have of me, that my adult children have of me from childhood, from my own absence or from my own actions. Maybe alcoholism is something I'm hearing. I want you to know that I remember good times. One of their gifts is saying, I, as the father figure, remember good times, beautiful times that we shared. And I want to forgive myself and extend forgiveness to you, my beautiful green feather crew. If you ever felt like you made it hard for this individual to be a father, or if this individual ever made you feel guilty for being a child, and you have memories of that, the forgiveness is infinite and eternal here. This father wants you to know, not only do I have amazing memories of my childhood with you, if we were directly involved, if we never met or we were never involved, I want you to know that I thought about it often. I thought about you and I thought about your childhood. And now, as my adult children, I want to wish you incredible memories for yourselves because you deserve them. I want you to have memories with family. I want you to have memories in your career with success. I want you to have memories with lovers plural, or a lover that gives you this deep emotional fulfillment. I want my adult children to thrive in ways that they didn't have the opportunity to because of my own parentage or the relationship we had or the lack of a relationship that we had. The blessing that I'm giving you is like this retroactive, going back through time and saying, every good time that we had was priceless to me, whether they were few and far in between or not. And the blessing I'm giving you now, if we never got to share that together, or if you don't feel that, or if that doesn't apply here, or even if it does, it's a dual blessing. I'm sending you now incredible memories as an adult, incredible times as an adult, child healing, healing between us, forgiveness between us. And if you have children, they're sending you this blessing that it's going to be like a generational healing. Not only will you heal these wounds that may exist here with your own children, but this father figure is also blessing you with a clearing of a relationship with your own children. So if you have adult children now and there's anything between you or not, it's a strengthening of that relationship. This is a healing coming in. And if you want to claim it, let's claim it. Spirit, for my beautiful green feather crew, no matter who they are or where they are, whether they have children or don't have children, whether they're a young adult or an older adult, or not even an adult, if they exist, we ask that this blessing from this father figure comes in like a huge wave of healing. And it cleanses and releases so many of the difficult memories that may exist here. And it blesses them with optimism and hope, not just to perhaps become parents themselves, but to have incredible relationships with their own children. That this bond becomes a healing one rather than a painful one is the blessing that this figure is calling down. And in addition to that, powerful memories of abundance, joy, and love throughout their adult life. They will be rooting for that. This father figure will be rooting for that from wherever they are. They just want you to be blessed overall and have a life that you look back on with joy and that you live presently with joy, and that in the future is filled with joy. Joy, forgiveness, and healing. We call it in. So now I'm going to let this candle burn to completion until it's all gone. Just like my other 3 candles are still burning for my lavender feather crew, my silver feather crew, my blue feather crew, and for you, my beautiful green feather crew. If this was heavy, and yet you managed to stick it out, or it wasn't heavy, and it was whatever it was, and yet you're still here, I'm holding you so tenderly. Your precious heart is so very worthy of love above all else. I hope it not only finds you, love that is, but it chases you, it surrounds you, it fills you, and it reminds you of how very important you are to this entire universe simply by existing and being yourself. You're a warrior, you are strength, and you're so worthy. And I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being here. Please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. I would love for you to be part of the Little Reader family. And I'd love to hear the context of how this applied to you, if it did. But most of all, I just want you to know how very precious you are and that I'm sending all the love your way. Thank you so very much for all you are and all you do. All you are and all you do. And take good care.